Welcome everyone to the UKEL Summer Split 2021. I'm Kachka, joined by Reclamation. It's week 5 and we're kicking off with Monster Rugby Gaming going against Orglis.
Hello, hello. Back once again for another UKL week, and this time I get to cast the number 1 team. After a recent loss, though, against Munster, who are fighting for their playoff lives. So, going to be a bit of a banger.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, playoff lives, still maybe a bit too dramatic. We have 6 games ahead for every team. Orglis still have that rematch to play against Nox tomorrow, so 7 for those 2 matches. But you are right in one regard. Monster Rugby are currently at the, towards the bottom of the table. And, with how close these teams are, and with only 6 more matches to go, you really are needing to be picking up those wins.
Mm-hmm. So as you can see on here on the standings, a little asterisk there for the 2 teams involved. But like as you're saying, London Academy here, and then we've who come in later today as well. Like there's another game after this that we'll be facing off, which is basically now we're getting to the point in the season where we're determining in playoff runs and who's going to get into that playoffs. And right now with Munster, we're a little bit disappointed in where they are right now, but they have been showing signs that they're picking it up and actually starting to find their rhythm again. And I really want to see how that's going to be impacted out today against what would be, or we should consider, one of our tougher opponents.
Yeah, I mean, Monster Rugby, they have, had the 0-2 in the first week, and since then they have gone win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. So technically, if you follow the pattern, they should be starting off with a win. And, they are being fairly consistent in the last weeks, but I think what I want to see from them is to see them, shine. Show something that we haven't seen from this team. Get a win against Orglis would be a great way for Monster Rugby to really say that they aren't in the bottom, that they are looking to get to the top of the standings.
Now, to be honest with you, I really want to get into like who is going to make that happen for them, because MRG need to pull off this win. So how are they going to do it? Is probably the biggest point. And if you're looking for anybody, it's Bear Tree. Bear Tree throughout this split has been consistently pulling out different champions, pulling out different styles, playing for the team. I feel like they should be looking to say, hey, this guy's actually putting in really good performances, along with Goose as well, and saying these guys have been consistent every single week. How can we play around them? And
Yeah. That's going to be the big question. I mean, fun fact for everyone involved, Birchie played 8 unique champions. He has not played the same champion twice in UKEL so far. I will not be, listing them all right now, but when we get into the draft, we will see if it is a repeat or not. So Birchie definitely has that degree of flexibility, and this is what I'm looking for. Can they use this flexibility to aid the team? Goose likes to, play more of the carry junglers, early aggression, all that fun stuff. So, yeah. Will Monster Rugby manage to pull it off?
You've put yourself in trouble now because I'm 100% calling you out for which champions he has played. So you better memorize that list.
I mean, I have it on the side. I can see it. I don't need to actually memorize it.
That's cheating. Okay, so Fiora and Rumble taken away here. Eugene probably being targeted there with Fiora ban. Rumble on the other side was or still looked at as being a strong champion in the meta, but has received nerfs in recent weeks. Dinzao, I like being taken away from Goose as a strong early jungler, like we were just talking about with the mid 2v2 from Monster Rugby. Karthus going over the other side for a Nerd Rage ban. I think that has big implications on the strong double AD solo lanes that they've been playing in recent weeks. And Akali to finish it up.
Yeah, Kali, Gwen, so strong picks and some comfort bans, pretty much, sort of to be expected in terms of the, phase 1 bans for both of these teams. Now, what will Monster Rugby prioritize as their first pick? I mean, they are having a lot of champions. Diego is still one that's open.
We are flying through the pick and bans here. We're just trading power picks, getting it out, and then straight into the draft. So, like, Diego here instantly picked up. I mean, Lulu and Karma do still exist if they want to go that route. But I feel like they can just be traded. Monster can quite happily pick up Lulu or Karma on this side. Ezreal here has been picked up. Was strong when previous patch, was like uncontested. Now after the Divine Sunderer nerfs, not as strong. A lot of priority has been actually taken away, but I want to see what they're going to pair up with it.
Yeah, whether or not they will lock in something towards this bot lane here as well. Basically, we're looking what the response is from their Orglis, and I'm pretty sure that is a placeholder, so we will just find out as soon as possible what that is.
In the meantime, though, with Ezreal locked in, this opens up a number of options for Munster. I mean, they could end up taking like a Callista, a Draven, or something into that lane. And it's just been confirmed now. So the Amumu is Karma for everyone at home. So Ezreal Karma picked up here on R1 and R2, which I'd expect now. That does change the implications for the lane because Karma is quite something that's difficult to lane into. But here you go.
Okay, I did not see that one coming. Callista, is it a new flavor of the month, or what's the deal with this pick?
So historically, Callista was always something that was really good into Ezreal. Really, really strong laning. Ezreal has a strong or difficult time trying to hit Callista because of her passive with skill shots. So it takes a lot of trading potential away from Ezreal. And Callista likes that, and she has the ability to actually engage in onto the Ezreal and actually, even if Ezreal ease away, can still catch up. Diana picked up as well, strong AP jungler. So that means Viego is going to one of our solo lanes. I'd assume it's more likely going to Bear Tree, because I don't think Jojo is going to be picking that one up with his playstyle. And Camille locked in on the other side. So the Camille being locked in here, recognizing weak side top for Munster. So
yeah, and that's also one of the picks that UGN likes to play quite a lot in this top lane. I mean, this is a top laner that, coming into this split, no one really knew that much about them. Then at least I got, quite hyped for UGN, but recently hasn't really shown that many of those carry performances, and I hope Camille is one of those champions that has the capability to just take over a side lane, so maybe we are going to see that type of performance from August.
Don't tell me you're getting off the hype train already. It's only been a few weeks, like we've already a few stops down the line.
No, you see, I'm not entirely sure on which hype train to get on, right?
Okay. Well, Silas and Victor Van, Nocturne taken away. I'm expecting with the Camille locked in, by the way, that they should probably just take their jungler on 4 here. So you'll probably see more jungle bans come out from Munster here, and then just round off their draft with a nice mid lane pick.
That's indeed what we are expecting now. What sort of jungler will they want to be taking away from Malako? Already we had the Karthus and the Nocturne banned away. Malako previously also played things like Morgana, Xin, or Volibear, which now actually does get taken away. So Morgana is the only other pick that Malako has played, but maybe we see something different pick up.
I like the bans. Primary reason here, if they wanted to flex the Karma to mid lane, for example, that you want a champion that she can kind of enable. Volibear was one of those, Nocturne is another. So I'm actually kind of surprised that Nocturne went all this way, but now if you're seeing Evelyn, by the way, there is very little chance that Karma won't flex. So now they know that Karma is going bot lane, which then in turn, I would be thinking on Munster's side that you're basically going to go, I am going to lock in and engage support here. Nautilus would be an obvious choice. There is others out there like Tarek, for example, who's been getting a lot of play recently due to the meta of skirmishing. And I feel like Munster probably want to finish this up with basically just a nice top lane pick that would enable Jojo just to like hold on, but really want to see where that flex goes.
I mean, technically Set is still open, not entirely sure if it fits your criteria of holding on, but I know it's a pick that Monster Rugby have liked a lot this split so far, and seeing Longstaff on Engage and potentially even Jojo on Engage is sort of the signature style of this team. And if I get this right, I will be very happy, but 2 more seconds. Hell yeah. So the thing about the Monster Rugby, they just have 2 Engage players. It's Jojo and Longstaff, and they do it almost every single game.
So we are now hitting into our numerous games of Set, but if I recall correctly, if that is Viego going to mid lane, that should be another new champion for our Bear Tree, which is going to be a fun one. Lucian here is a good pickup. Okay, so with how everything's going to work out, Lucian, Evelyn, you needed like the AD and AP variants through the mid and jungle. So there is a very, very strong mid jungle 2v2. Like when they hit 6, there is a chance that you can just get 100 to 0'd. But on the flip side to that, you've both got like Viego locked in who can sustain through it later on. Like as the game gets later, I feel like they may struggle to try and get through Viego's sustain and also just everything else that's coming out. And like there's no real tank on their team. And you've got Nautilus, Callista, you've got so many engage options. It makes it so hard to play.
Definitely feels to me like Monster Rugby play towards their strengths, because as a team, what they might sometimes lack in individual prowess, laning, power, maybe Birchie excluded, is that they are really good at team fighting. Monster Rugby. So they have drafted around that pretty damn well, and I do like where they are going. But then on the other side, Orgulus, they have such a potential for snowball in their top side.
Agreed. I mean, I'm not gonna lie here, but I don't know if you've ever played a game and you've had to play against Set Diana, by the way. it is horrible because Set is
Imagine.
all he's gonna do is throw your top laner or some beefy person on your team into you, use his E, and then Diana's gonna wombo combo you. And it hurts a lot if they can coordinate it really well. And I mean, I'm sat here on Augler's side, like, you're gonna have to be dancing in and out of these fights. I really hope they got their dancing shoes on, because otherwise it is really painful if they ever get caught as like a 3 or 4 man.
Yeah, it is. It feels like it is another draft where Ogres are just saying that we feel like we've got enough, talent in order to pull this off. I don't want to, start drawing parallels necessarily, but one thing that I had a criticism of the Ogres against their match in versus Lucendi is that they picked a comp which, was greedy, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I am seeing some elements of that here, although I do like the fact that they've got that safe bot lane as a, release valve. Say.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong here. If we're gonna go by actual like looking down the board here, for August, I mean Ezreal Karma will get priority, can cover Evelyn until she gets to 6. Lucian can do the same, and you've got mid and bot prio. Camille versus Set, if I recall correctly, becomes fairly Camille favored when later on in the game, because Set can't deal with the true damage that's going to come out from her. Like, I believe that Camille ends up winning that like combo later on, and it becomes a bit of an issue. So the Set is purely for comfort in my eyes. And the other aspect you've got to hit on here, right? On the opposite flip side here, Munster, if you look at that comp, I mean, Kalista, Rel need to actually just engage first. So Diana's going to have to try and give them some attention and try and snowball them a little bit, but she wants to get to 6. And then Viego gets pushed in as well. And Set might get pushed in. So their reward will come at about 7 to 8 minutes, 10 minutes plus. But before then, it's probably going to be like, hey guys, can we get a little bit of help in these lanes?
Yeah, and this is, I feel like, the exciting bit about this game is the first few minutes, it's sort of anyone's game. I mean, we could very well just see 8 minutes of nothing, because I tend to have, luck with those sorts of games when I'm casting, but hopefully, for Orgles, they can find something with that Lucian Evelyn. I mean, you mentioned the strong mid lane. I just wanted to, sort of tie it back that, is this, where we are expecting Orgles to be playing around? Is this 2v2 mid something that they should be exploiting as much as possible, or are there alternative avenues?
See, yes, they should, but they've got very small windows to do it, because Lucian's going to get prio early, but once Viego gets like first base and a little bit of more sustain and HP, he can actually start to just tank up Lucian's damage. And then Lucian basically can't ever E forwards into Viego Diana. He can't ever use his E forwards. So he can only use it backwards. And because of that, Viego starts getting prio, and the 2v2 becomes a bit more dynamic from that point onwards. So what I'm trying to point across here is that basically Evelyn's going to get a free pass for the first couple minutes of this game. But once we get to a certain point, they're going to struggle, because Viego and Set are just going to basically tank up everything. If they ever get to group up as a 4 or 5 man unit, you could just see Monster just saying, pull the trigger, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And, well, I don't know if they have enough tools on what would be Augler's side here to actually deal with that.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, set Diana, Kalista, Rel, and then throw in Viego on the top. That just looks like a wombo combo potential for me, and it is not looking too pretty if you are Orgles. Which means that UGN is now suddenly playing an insanely important role, because they're playing the Camille. It's the split push champion, the role that you need to play if you gotta get someone away so the other team can't group.
Precisely. I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head here. Like, if Camille ever gets ahead with Divine Sundra, it's basically how it is on this patch. It wasn't actually adjusted for melee, it was only ranged, so it's still as strong, by the way. Camille is going to become a monster with Sundra on side lane, and the killer added bit here, Evelyn being able to like actually play for sides here and look towards Camille. Like, if Set ever overextends, Camille and Evelyn as a 2-man unit is always going to be drawing that kind of pressure, and they can't, or in theory, Munster should not be able to engage onto Ezreal Karma, because they will always be safe and just clearing waves. So that's the dynamic they're going to run into. That's the problem they're going to run into for Munster, and they need to pick the right opportunities, when to engage, when to cover, and see what their answer is in that situation.
Yeah, actually, now thinking about it, Malako in that later game, mid to late game stages, is going to have really a lot of room on this Evelyn because we all know Evelyn when she hits a few items becomes an insanely scary champion, and being able to be hidden in the fog of war, especially when you have that split push champion to be playing around, just opens up so many opportunities. Do Monster Rugby want to go and match UGN? Well, you can pick them in rotation. Are they trying to engage mid? You can try and do the same, or you can try and gank bot, well, wherever UGN is. It just opens up so many options.
Pretty much. I mean, I feel like we're just going to see a bit of a bloodbath from Munster's side of things. Like, it's going to be down and dirty. It's not going to be like some insane macro win. Like, if there's ever a game to watch, by the way, it's this one where it's basically just going to be two teams, one trying to be the, hey, let's fight, let's brawl, and the other's trying to say, no, let's be respectful gentlemen and just like trade on the map if possible. And I'm excited to see it. I really want to see Monster just bring them down into this like level where it's like, hey, come fight us, you know? And
Yeah.
that's what Node Rage have typically tried to do, right? So
yeah, it very much is. So we will see if they can pull it off. Also, let's not forget that Orgles are a team that went through a shakeup, still fairly recently. I think this is like the second game after they have completely swapped out their bot lane. So this team is still trying to come together as a unit, and I think this game, if they are able to properly execute the comp that Orgles have drafted, it is giving us some positive vibes that, hey, Orgles are still a top team even without their old bot.
correct. And I mean, looking at this, we'll hit a small pause, by the way, guys, just to let everyone know at home. So we're gonna be holding on for a couple minutes, just until the game gets underway. And then from then on, you still have us talking about the game and seeing what we can do.
We're just trying to make some, predictions about the game. Let's see how many of them are going to come true, and just talking crap in general.
I mean, I mean, to be fair, I was looking at this game and I'm just kind of like, if you wanted like a David versus Goliath kind of game, this would be it. And we have been seeing a lot of upsets lately. If anyone's been watching the football, just saying, like France versus Switzerland, Czech Republic.
No, all I'm saying is that in 2016, Poland faced Switzerland in round of 16, and they won the penalties 5-4. So like Poland wins those. Like that's all I'm saying.
I mean, true. I mean, I'm getting instructions not to say it, but at the same time, it's coming home. Just you're welcome. It's already happened. It's done. You've got to
Hell
move
yeah.
on now. And I'm already being flamed in my ear. So thank you for that. Anyway, from this game, I don't think we need to go into it more, but I mean, who do you think's going to win? Who do you think is going to be like our team
Ooh.
to come out with the victory in this?
I mean, this is actually a really tough one. Okay, I think I'm gonna go for the underdog here. I'm gonna go for Monster Rugby. I just like wombo combo teams. I think they are fairly simple to execute, and yeah, if you ever get together, you have to press your ultimates, and you're not 5,000 gold behind, then it's gonna work. So I am just gonna go for them.
5,000 goal behind. Yeah, I'd like to play a game if I wasn't 5,000 goal behind. That would be ideal.
Yeah, it's the preferred scenario, right?
I'm a preferred scenario. I mean, I guess. My preferred scenario would be 5,000 gold ahead, but I mean, we take what we could get in the UKEL, I guess. But I mean, from my point of view, I'd love to see MLG win, but at the same time, I also don't like. I want August to carry on and just be like the shining light of what UKEL, because I like seeing teams that can go from like starting from the bottom, going to UKLC, like a number of teams that have done in the past, and actually try to be successful at a higher level. That's always like entertaining to watch for me. And it would appear from the sounds of it that we are going to be going into game very, very shortly, and we are being able to see what's going on.
I think we are on the Rift. First game of week 5 is Monster Rugby against Orgles, and let's see which of the teams is going to come out on top us. I have production in my ear. I did not.
I've got the funny feeling that what he said here was there's going to be a slight pause. Just give us one moment, and then we'll be on our way. And then as you say that, it would just appear that we have arrived into the game. So we are going to be seeing some level 1s, maybe something a little bit cheesy, because I'm not going to lie here, Ezreal Karma really, really strong at level. So if we are going to see something, it should be from red team here, but it looks like everybody is going to be a bit of a pansy and not choose to fight. So I am sad.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, There isn't that much hard CC on Orglis, and I'm not entirely sure if Monster Rugby want to be invading level 1. So
Yep.
there's that. Both
Um,
teams literally just respecting each other. Not even going for vision invades. I mean, that I am slightly disappointed.
yeah, I mean, I feel like level 1 stuff could have been done here. But I'm not gonna get too antsy about it. I mean, there are small things I'm noticing, like Comet on Karma for one. She can look to do a poke lane, but if she wanted to, she can switch and she can actually do Guardian here, and then she gets access to like Resolve, and then she can actually get into being a little bit more tanky to try and stop the all in. But that's personal preference. Otherwise, standard clear here, and no funny business.
I'm actually looking at this bot lane now, and I'm King and Nibble are going to have a massive range advantage over Keverman and Longstaff, and Karma Ezreal is a pretty strong bot lane.
Yeah, if they trade like this, you're gonna lose a lot of your HP and a lot of your priority in the lane. Skeverman's probably gonna be a short place away from basing here, and it's looking a little rough if you're on Monster's side here.
They are getting the early shove. Longstaff mounts and gets already reduced to 200 health. You can see Ezreal Karma, not the most fun lane to be playing against, but Kevman and Longstaff do hit level 2 first, so you know it's not the worst. Still playable. I mean, they are pushing the wave, and Kevman actually got a perfect CS on the first 2 waves.
Yeah, playable, I don't know. They're trading a lot of HP here, which could upset the lane now, because Ezreal Karma should typically get priority, and the reason you're doing that is so you don't end up getting your HP chunked. Now they've got no pots, anything that lands is going to be a bit of a problem, but Diana is coming down this way, and in reality, this is what we spoke about, like, in a sense, the MSG's laners are going to get pushed in. It is going to be a struggle, and as it looks like here, Coco is going to be starting to look for the red buff.
Yeah, and Galula has got the priority mid lane, and Malako is just sitting in this brush. Nibble coming up as well. This is not something we've seen. Level 3 red buff invade, coordinated by 2 lanes of Orglis.
Yeah, it's good, it's good. And Goose is going to lose out here. He's not going to like this at all. And Evelyn walks away, a very, very happy jungler, because she used the priority, it slows Diana down a little bit, and she can start to use that to maybe get to level 6 first. Increases her window playing around that mid jungle 2v2. And in the meantime, got King down here, chilling out, catching his CS, and ultimately nothing's really achieved, but it's a nice little step in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing Ezreal Karma in the bowling. We are not really expecting any action. So yeah, we'll see overall how much this invade pays off for Malako. I do believe that is a triple buff, if I recall correctly.
It is,
So now
yes.
Goose has to make some aggressive plays. Was looking for a potential gank in the top lane, but I mean, Eugen has flash, so probability of a kill is fairly low.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to go down here anytime soon. Diana has just finished what would be now her, like, slightly diminished full clear. Longstaff's on his first movement from bot lane, and now he's going to look to help get the mid lane pushed in so that their tree can reset. But past that point, I mean, nothing really could happen here, but Galul could look to pressure with Evelyn here.
As we are getting a micro pause, I do believe, since we also, Iron King had a minor disconnect, and Spectator client works beautifully well whenever it comes to pauses in the match. Now, actually, do you wonder what is the first dragon, if we can find out on the objective timers? Oh, wait, it's at the top of my plan. Yeah.
It won't appear, unfortunately. I've watched enough replays to know, unfortunately. But looks like we're back on the way. Very short pause, sorry guys. But in the meantime, Goose has reset. He's back on the map again in a short time. He's going to go from top to bot lane again on his second clear. Evelyn's still got a little ways to go and hasn't fully reset yet, which means that she might find a little bit of problem where Diana's going to get to bot lane quicker, and that opens a small window for her to try and come back from the buff invade. Nibble here looking like he wants to head towards that mid lane.
Yeah, Nibble has been just chilling around mid lane for quite a while now. You know, just placing, I mean, not placing any wards because he did go for that sweeper, but just creating pressure, I suppose. You know, making sure that Galul has got quite a lot of space to play with. 5 CS advantage in the mid lane, so really not the biggest one, and just scanning the CS advantages. It is the top lane that is now starting to really become noticeable.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's about to pick up a little bit of his wave here, but I mean, as we're going through this game, Camille shouldn't realistically be this far ahead, so I think we're seeing a little bit of the difference of just like laning ability. Not necessarily a problem. You don't pick Set here for like his insane laning. Like you're gonna be picking him for the wombo combo later. It's just something to note, really look at and say, hey, this could become a problem down the line. As we're speaking about Diana here.
Yeah, flash forward from Longstaff finds the knock-up. Nibble just CC locked, flashes away, but there's the dash forward from Goose. First blood picked up by Longstaff.
Bingo. And I'm not going to say it, but Profit, right here, just said Evelyn is going to be back on our topside camps. There will be a small window of opening due to the way that Evelyn... This is actually really smart by Goose. Like, let's just give credit here.
Yeah.
And I think I don't get time to really go into the play because I think mid lane is about to get pressured.
And Bertree is going to dash away, and actually that is it. But yeah, I do agree with you. Goose played it absolutely perfectly, also knowing that Longstaff has got the flash, can go for that engage, and Nibble being only level 3, kind of squishy and easy to burst down.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to get a second, but he's trying to hold the wave here aggressively as a 3-man unit is attempting to skirmish with him, which might mean that Longstaff could go down here, but he's flipping it into another engage.
Forward, Malco getting extremely low, but it's Galul taking that Longstaff. Bertree dashing forward, able to find the kill onto Malco before dropping down to Nibble. There's 2-for-1 in favor of Ogress.
Oh, but like, I want to praise you, Monster, but then you do things like this where you try to like, okay, so the wave is being pushed in, they're trying to hold the wave so that Lucian can't reset. Okay, and then basically instead of trying to just accept it and just say, okay, they're pressuring us, they opt in, they skill check it, and it goes disastrously. Like, that is a disaster. But despite it being a disaster, gold lead remains for Monster.
It does indeed. I mean, you know, that first blood making a bit of a difference, you have to imagine, and also now a CS advantage in the bot lane and the jungle. So actually this invade, in terms of the jungle CS, Goose is very much back.
Yeah, I mean, Goose loves it. He picks up some CS. He's back in the game. He's hit 6 now. Yes, he does have his combo wherever he wishes to go. And now Evelyn is playing around into the brush here. There's a wave that's been pushed in by Jojo here, but they've got mid-priority. Mid-priority can cover top lane, so this could become a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, Bertree is already up in the top lane. Jojo is now just buying time with the Haymaker, is going to get charmed, has got access to level 6. The execution from Malco finishes off the kill. Bertree is now going to be the target. Goose arrives in the top lane. Yujian used the Hextech ultimatum to get away from the damage, but only for so long before Goose swoops in to pick up that kill.
Yep, 1-for-1, but mid lane is going to be traded. So it's a net win in my eyes for our boys over at Orbless. And Lucian here going to come up top, but Evelyn should pick up the wave. So ultimately, you're just trading waves in a 1-for-1. No one really moves. Nothing changes. But it favors Camille, because the wave was originally pushing to her. Like, it should go back to neutral now, and laning just carries on as if nothing changed in the lane.
Yeah, the status quo is more or less preserved. We are probably going to have to wait until those first items are going to be coming through. So far, everyone just sitting on components, but Yujian is sitting on quite a few components, and I will need to keep my eye on this Camille regularly, because we talked about how Yujian is going to be the centerpiece in making sure that Monster Rugby don't get to group up and fight.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it a lot. He's kind of like... if you're in a chess game, would be a castle where he's constantly just making the enemy team have to constantly think about there's going to be pressure from this guy. How much pressure is he going to exert is more of the question. And as I see, like, we're getting into this early game. We're now getting to a point now where Evelyn and Diana are both hitting to their ultimates. We should start to see them become even more active than what we have already seen. So a lot of these wave states where things are getting pushed in with cover, they are going to be our catalysts for seeing more action. And Lucian now is starting to realize that he might struggle to keep his priority up because he can't just keep trading HP.
Yeah, no, Galul is still going to try going for the calling. A lot of damage down onto Bertree, but Bertree will be able to dash out. I feel like Ignite here and Flash Galul could have definitely hard committed for this trade.
Yeah, that's how he has to play. Like, he either has to go for an all-in, but I can't say that because we're going in for another one.
I mean, this engage is just so damn clean. 2 quick kills picked up by the Monster Rugby in the bot lane.
Longstaff dismounting, flipping Karma overhead, going in for the ult, and then it's immediately just followed up by consistent damage from Diana and Callista, and it's an easy 2-0 with their sights set onto the Drake.
It is the Cloud Drake, so, you know, not necessarily... Hold on, Malco. Looking for Kevin alone in the bottom. Flash heal away, but Malco still finds the breakthrough, and
It's typical,
Unlucky.
right?
Unlucky.
You can't get through this game where you try to praise somebody and then someone makes a mistake immediately after by just having. This is something when Evelyn's in the game, right? It changes the way the game is kind of played because you have to be a lot more disciplined in saying, I can't just take a greedy base here for my tempo. Like, I have to sit here and basically sit back. And I say this as another fight is breaking out on a wave that's been pushed in.
There's the flip back from Jojo, but Yujian just killing Jojo here. Bertree finding the slow. Yujian trying to run away, but I think it will be the equalizing kill. 1-for-1 in the top lane, but Yujian is starting to style on Jojo.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. He's got his like Nikes out. He's got like his Supreme gear on. Like he's definitely styling here, balling. But the big real thing you need to hit on here is like Camille in this instance got the kill. Set did not. So overall, this lane is going to continue to get worse now as Camille's picking up the resources. But Bertree takes it away to mid lane, and he might be able to use that to flip his matchup into his favor.
Well, hopefully, as Monster Rugby are looking to just group around this mid lane. They have, you know, all of their ultimates available, I guess. Still, some of them are off cooldown, so the power of this team is now starting to spike. And you can see they are starting to leverage it, moving as a team, setting up some vision around this dragon, and ultimately looking to take the objective.
Chef's kiss. Mwah. Like, MRG here, what they've done is they've used mid-priority to create a turn for themselves, and in that turn, they've decided to get vision into the river over the Drake. They can take the Drake on that turn, and turns are typically normally always started by when waves are pushed in or out by either team. So you're seeing here, now it's Nerd Rage's turn, because they've pushed in the wave, so they get to move to river. And you're just alternating on turns here, and that was really well done by Monster.
Yeah, just playing the clean game. And they get themselves a goal lead of 1,000 at, 13 minutes. This game has had a fair share of kills, but it feels very structured in how those kills are coming through. Nothing really that I would say caught us off guard so far.
Yeah, I agree. Like, off guard would probably be the worst way, because you're looking at this and saying it's whenever waves have been pushed in, and Monster are saying, hey, you can't just roll over us. They're trying to hold the waves and saying, let's fight, let's skirmish. And Monster know that's kind of where they want them. They want to get into these like nitty gritty, dirty, come down, like fighters in the trenches kind of warfare against them. And it's working so far. I mean, 1k gold lead, Drake up, second Drake in 4 minutes. Like they're making steady like headway to get into a Drake soul position at the moment.
Yeah, and it is going to be either Ocean or Infernal, and I feel like those are the two souls that if you are a con that wants to get down and dirty and just fight your opponents all the time, you will love both of those.
Agreed. Like, you're gonna love that. Yeah, if you're a Callista that's ever had, like, Infernal Soul where you can just ult somebody in, oh, feels so good. So good.
Yeah, just insane damage. Well, first mythics are starting to come through. Prodibalts on both of the junglers, and Kraken Slayer picked up by Galul, but that is about it for now.
You should start to see a few more probably on the next couple of bases, but I mean, Set is a little bit more delayed than the rest due to how just the fights have been coming out. It looks like we might see something happen in the bot lane with everybody moving into the river between Lucian and Evelyn here, but just gets away.
Herald drop mid lane by Malako though. This is going to take a lot of damage onto the tower. Not entirely sure if it got the play since we just hit 14 minutes, but teleport.
Ooh, this is going to be close.
Okay, it does come in time. Now Galul has to try and get away. The stun coming through. Goose with the Moonfall finds the kill. Malako now using that last caress to get away the teleport in from Yujian, but the hookshot gets interrupted by the Magnet Storm, and now Yujian is stuck in a position where they don't want to be, as that's a double kill for Goose.
Now, don't get me wrong here. It's a nice play for Monster to capitalize, but I really feel like... Oh.
Well, they are still going. Nibble has to burn the flash. There is Goose following through. Bertree will find the reset. Oh, the Tart Shot does not find the kill. Another reset for Bertree as they survive. Find the double. And Monster, are you satisfied with this play?
I mean, I'm not satisfied with it because Galul could have just killed the turret and this wouldn't even happen. Like, the TP wouldn't come in, Viego doesn't arrive, and then they could actually play the fight if they so desired. But the fact that he didn't just go, hey, if I just burst the turret, this doesn't happen. And then this entire sequence of events with all ends, it's played nicely, but like, oh my word. We could have avoided it. MRG collapse, use all that engage, use all their tools, completely run over the fight, and now you're fighting a 4-on-1 Viego, a 3-0 Diana, and you don't have a chance in these fights if Monster get the right engage.
I mean, I think I have to say this explicitly, or at least I want to say this explicitly. This fight was absolutely massive for the tempo of this game. Monster Rugby, 3,000 gold in the lead. Birchie is now massive, as you said. Goose picking up a double as well. We switch to the gold, and I mean, the leads aren't necessarily that big, but from the nature of the comps, we know that this is where they are going to be scary.
Absolutely. I mean, the gold may not tell the full story here because of just how like plates were given over certain waves. But like Munster have just gone in, they've based, they picked up the first items, and now they're working towards their second. The problem with this is that Nerd Rage kind of need to be even a bit because otherwise Lucian can't all in and cannot poke through or deal damage because he can never E forwards. Like his entire composition, Ezreal's got some range, but everyone else is kind of in that melee-ish range where you're just going to get obliterated and run over.
Well, that being said, top lane is still very much the same. Jojo was not the recipient of too much of that gold, and Yujian with that Sunder is doing a lot of work. So there's still definitely hope for Orgles. It's not like they are out of this game, but it is starting to feel like they need to take some drastic steps to screw up the game plan of Monster Rugby, or we will just see the repeat of what happened mid over and over.
Agreed. I mean, we're seeing now what they're trying to do is they've pushed in mid and bot lane and then moved into the position or the jungle quadrant here, and then they're looking just to place their wards down, and now they're waiting for the Drake spawn, and you should just see like a lot of preference or priority put onto the next mid wave before they take their Drake. Now, the kicker that they can do with this is MRG, if they're smart, don't need to assign 4 people to this. They only need 1. And then they just need to send the rest of the team to cover top lane. But Jojo's going in.
Oh, Jojo saw that mistake a mile away. I just love it. Yujian takes a turret shot too much. Jojo flashes for it, ults him. No interrupt for you there, Mr. Camille. And I just love to see that.
Jojo's just like one punch man, that guy. Straight up. Like, he didn't even do anything else. He just ulted him into the turret. I have no clue how that occurred, why it occurred, but it did. And here we are.
Yeah, Yujian was trying to skill check Jojo, I think, and Jojo's like, nah, I see what you're doing there. Unfortunately, my champion has this superior point and click. And yeah, just flipped him into the turret.
Respectable, right? So you can now completely ignore everything I just said about 30 seconds ago, because what I thought was going to happen was Nerd Rage were going to 2-man top lane as the cross map from losing out on Drake, which is where I was thinking that MRG should only assign 1 person to the Drake and moves the other people, like 2 or 3-man unit, they can move over to cover Jojo on that tier 2. And then they can start building control there on the other side, and they can kind of transition. But that play happens, Jojo walks away happy, and here we are. Nice now, chilled out game, lots of turrets going down, very open, long lanes, and now we get to see how well each team is going to team fight.
We've got open long lanes. This is just what feels to me like the perfect Evelynn environment. Malako can walk almost anywhere, provided there aren't really any control wards in the area, and look to find picks.
Yep, but it's also, on the flip side, a great environment for Callista to throw people into you. So
Also
take
true.
your pick. We're just going to see whoever gets the better engage or finds that opportunity will win the fight. Like, Evelynn's got to find somebody on a side lane with this Camille. But Munster should know that, try to cover it, and now they're going to move people into that position.
Yeah, Longstaff trying to cut off Yujian. Yujian still has the flash. Nice clean hookshot there. Still gets tagged by the crowd control. There's the all-in from Goose. Yujian using the Hextech ultimatum burns the flash away, and Goose still finds the kill. I feel like Yujian just could have flashed away instantly here.
I mean, it's going to work out as being worth them. I don't know if it was worth that many tools and resources that it burnt into it, but it looks like we're getting TP here as they're looking for Ezreal Karma.
Yeah, Birchie looking for some blood, almost has the flash up as well. King just gets almost blown up heal to try and get away. But
Karma
Goose
next.
is simply unstoppable. Yeah, there's the flash stun onto Nibble, and that Karma doesn't have the flash, has got a lot of movement speed, but there's still the Fate's call-up. There is just crowd control for days.
There is
side of
so
Monster
much engage. If you are on the side of Auglis, you are just sitting here and going, guys, they've burnt their tools in top lane after the skirmish. We can play... Oh wait, no, they've got more engage.
Yeah.
And it's starting to look like those moments now with the turrets gone. Any play can become a good play when you've got this level of engage and CC. And you're starting to see it now. We've just gone from 2 minutes ago where it was only about a 2k gold lead. And now we've ballooned up to a 3,000 or 4,000 gold lead.
Yeah, this is massive. I mean, it's almost 5,000 for Monster Rugby. I said I thought they were going to win, but I genuinely did not expect Monster Rugby to be, I want to say this dominant, because they were, from start to finish. Of course, there were a few asterisks, but more or less, Monster Rugby just have control of this game.
Precisely. And now we're going to start moving into a setup for what would be like kind of checkmate, I guess, in different terms. But Munster here, they're going to push through mid lane. Once they push through mid lane, they're going to get control into the jungle quadrant like before. But this time, now they're going to start denying vision away from Auglis here. They're going to start denying all the vision on Baron. And with Callista in the game, Viego in the game, like they're going to start trying to two-man that thing and try and bring Baron down and say, hey, you've got to come to us and fight us. You've got to walk out of your base. And then they can choose to turn or finish the Baron. And that should be the play over the next couple of minutes. The flip side to that is you'll see Camille and Evelyn try to push down in bot lane here.
Yeah, Callista is such a good champion at just holding the Baron hostage. You're just sitting there and laughing, but like, if you don't come, I will deal 3,000 damage to this Baron instantly. It's almost a lose-lose because you can't really steal it in that situation. And Monster Rugby are doing almost that right now. Malakal is still coming up from the bot side, now in the mid lane. The Baron is down to 7,000. I'm not entirely sure how much Callista birds deal, but I think we are getting very close to this threshold, and Monster Rugby will need to do something.
They're gonna have to go.
Coming in, Baron at 3,000. Kevin keeps throwing in spears into that purple worm as there is the engage from Jojo going into the backside, locked up by Eugene and taken down by I Am King. But it's a 1-for-1 for the time being. Nibble on the backside is going to be taken down, and that is the run through from Monster Rugby. They clean up the fight. It's only Malako left. Jungler on jungler. Goose dashing forward together with Birchie. They find the ace.
Beautiful stuff. So, I'm not going to say we called it. It was fairly obvious to those at home of what was about to happen. But unfortunately, we spoke about this a lot. If Auglis try to fight as a 5v5, they lose. That's the brutal honesty. There's no, like, ifs or buts on this. It's just black or white. They lose. And Munster played it well. They used the Baron, got it low, and then they just had that talk of when it gets to 4 or 3,000 HP, guys, let's just turn. They're TPing into us. Let's just turn on them. They win the fight, get the Baron, and now they're going to come out on the map, and then they're going to run it straight into their base. And I don't know what options Auglis have at this stage.
You see, I was just going to ask you this question, but I guess now it is fairly self-explanatory, and it is looking tough. I mean, UGN has to be part of that process, but you are sitting on, well, quote-unquote, just 2 items. But even then, UGN goes to a side lane, Monster Rugby go to the Baron. We saw UGN and Malako be there. They could have killed Jojo, but they actually couldn't because the Baron was happening.
I'm going to quote a great man here by saying, I'm a caster, not a miracle worker. And unfortunately, Auglis here are in a bit of bother. I don't think they've got any real options now for the next minute or two. And it's just a case of trying to get waves pushed out. But yeah, I guess we're given freebies.
Nibble completely out of position. Jojo going to, you know, add up Cascadia 2-3-6. Not necessarily the greatest one in this game. So yeah, let man get his numbers up.
This man has been blind.
Oh, Kevinman has stopwatch. Malako can look for the assassination instead. Longstaff is going to be the target of the Hextech ultimatum, but Fate's Call gets them out, and here comes the rest of Monster Rugby. It's as simple as that. 2 quick kills, and Galul is now on the run. Still has the flash, Goose doesn't, so actually maybe the Lucian will be able to get away, and I think the dash might just be it.
Yeah, so what we're seeing from Nerd Rage is... I apologize. I keep saying Nerd Rage. It's a habit, guys. Fine. Leave me be. But Auglis here are what they're attempting to do is get to the waves to just try and push out waves before Munster can Baron them up. If they can clear them ASAP and they die for it, it means that Munster struggle to get into the base. The trade-off for that is that they die for it, which then just makes them be able to achieve this. And now we're seeing Karma giving another freebie over.
Yeah, Nibble just can't stand anywhere in this game. It feels like no matter where they're positioning, it's just Longstaff going for like, nope, you do not get to stand here, sir. Please pay the fine of sitting in the base for 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, this comes down to draft thing here. Like, Auglis to pick something that's very, very difficult to play. I mean, multiple squishies against Callista, Rel, Diana, Set. The writing was on the wall that this was going to be what was going to be happening. And they had very limited windows to what they could do for the first couple of minutes in this game. Like, it had to be those minute windows of Lucian, Ezreal, Karma, Prio to make something happen. They did. And even then, it wasn't enough.
Yeah. And I mentioned it in the draft. I didn't necessarily want to call it, but this would be the second game where it feels like Auglis are drafting comps which are unnecessarily difficult and then failing to execute on them. So same thing happened against Lucendi, although you could argue it was just objectively a bad draft. This time, I wouldn't say the draft is bad, but as you said, it's insanely hard to execute. They don't do it, and you gotta start to ask, all right, are Orgles, capable of doing these drafts? Should they maybe try and find something simpler that works, or really what is the plan from here on out?
I mean, maybe they could look for something a little bit more simple, go back to their roots. Like, they seem to do really well when they've got the kind of like the fist fighter comps. Actually, what Munster have on their side seems to be something that they enjoyed. And that seems to be where they were getting their success from. And now they've pivoted away, tried something else. Maybe it's for the playoffs, just seeing like they've already got that in mind, maybe practicing some things. We don't know. But at the end of the day, Munster here are capitalizing on the winners gone. Maybe they're going a little bit too slow now. I feel like they've had Baron. They could be pushing in and trying to end this now as ASAP. And that's pretty much the conversation we're probably going to be having.
Most likely. I mean, it will take an absolute miracle. You can see Yujian at least is doing the right thing, sitting on the side lane, stocking up as many minions and experience as possible. But yeah, it's just tough. The mid lane inhibitor, I'm not sure if it already fell, if that's the second time we see it gone, but it is now taken over by Monster Rugby. We have the Soul in 3 minutes, the Baron in 2 minutes, so a lot of objectives coming up shortly.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is kind of giving me shades of watching the England versus Germany game, by the way.
Okay, we're back.
You go 1-0 up, and then you're kind of sat here wondering, oh my god, is it going to happen? Is the win coming? And then you see Germany get very, very close. I'm expecting there's going to be one more fight before this ends, and I don't know if it's going to be the cleanest, because it looks like they don't have the confidence to just say, hey, they're in their base, just engage. Just engage now. Just pull the trigger. Like, they can't do anything. You've got 10,000 gold over these people. End the game. And that seems to be the thing that I'm looking at here. And I'm either they're going to go 2-0 up like the England game, or we're going to watch it be like a brutal extra time thing here where we're going to sit here for 20 minutes talking about something completely random.
Well, if we are going to be sat here for the next 20 minutes and Orgles are going to be winning fights, I suppose there's going to be a lot to break down. Now, some item pickups recently, just let's get us all back to scratch. Death caps completed on both of the junglers. We have some 3 items sitting on Birchie and on Keverman, 2 completed items on Galul and I Am King. Anything that stands out really to you?
In terms of the item builds, not particularly. You're just seeing Divine Sundra be really strong, but then also on the other side of that, Viego and Diana are so fed to the point they now are defensive items. So even if they didn't do enough damage, you can't just obliterate and kill them because you don't have any CC in your composition. Like, they don't even have the tools to start making picks for Nerd Rage either. Like, I feel so sorry. It's so painful to like play this because the writing is on the wall, but you're just pushing out waves. Like, there's nothing else they can do.
Yeah, it's sort of a question of how cleanly can Monster Rugby close this game out. It has been draining on for a bit. I mean, they haven't had the Baron buff, so I guess there is an excuse that we can make for them. If they don't end with this Baron, though, I think then we can start asking some big questions for Monster Rugby.
Yeah, I mean, my question right now is they've got the mid inhib, they've had it for a little while. There's gonna 50-50 a Baron for no reason.
Yeah, Malco is literally behind the pin going and steals the Baron! Malco, you absolute madman! That should not have happened if you're Monster Rugby.
If you want the equivalent here, Germany just scored. Munster here, 10,000 pushing up, and their ability to just push a side lane and push 2 lanes at once is the only thing they're missing, and they just can't they just can't do it for some reason. And I'm thoroughly confused as to why they thought, hey, let's flip a Baron 50-50. Like,
especially that I'm not entirely sure when the patch was, but this level doesn't matter for your smite damage. It's 900. You are literally coin flipping. It's not like, oh, Goose is 1 level up, so that there's extra damage. No, it's a coin flip, and well, let's see what Orgles can do with it.
I mean, they should get Soul regardless, which, I mean, this game, I'm still going to keep going on about this, that this game is, from a standpoint, it is over. And now you're just quite literally seeing that Orgles are just kind of like pushing their pieces around the board and not really achieving much. Yes, they got the Baron, it buys them more time. But they shouldn't have this time to begin with. Munster should just be able to get Ocean Soul here and just quite literally walk it down to the Nexus, like with a mid-wave. And if they try to stop them, you just engage, and the game is over. They're trying to play it too far by the book here. Like, just... Please, you've played really well to get yourself into this position. Just let loose. Don't follow everything by the book, and just push it and end it.
I mean, you can see the individual gold leads on the carries. They're 2,000 each, as far as I can see. Over 2,000 for Keverman and Goose. So in a 5-on-5, there is no equal. And finally, Jojo is steeping down into the bot lane. Monster Rugby Gaming will be looking to try and put an end to this game. They're hitting on the bot lane nexus for now.
Like, it's a shame they have to give Baron over because it makes it harder now. But like, if they had just done this 2 minutes ago without the Baron, and just quite literally said, "Hey, let's just keep escorting waves," they don't have to do anything. They don't even need to take anything else. You could just go like this and end. I think we might be able to see them do a slow siege here, but I don't know whether or not they're going to give it.
Well, I am going to play devil's advocate. Let's see if Orglis can find a miracle comeback here. If they can, I don't know, somehow find Goose and Bertree and somehow burst them down, then maybe this game becomes, you know, winnable. You have got the Infinite Age on Galul, 3-item Lucian. You are starting to hit some serious DPS spikes.
Like, the issue they're going to run into now is because they're mostly melee, and Kallista's fairly short range, that Orglis can actually just sit here and hold out. Ezreal Karma is going to be clearing waves. Like, all they need to do is go on wave clear duty. But on the other side, Orglis can't actually start a fight because they don't have CC for their own to actually, like, pick a target and say, hey, we might be able to win this. Like, unless Evelyn finds a way around this blockade to find a flank.
I'm actually surprised Malako didn't try it, although to be honest, if Malako is found on that side and engaged upon, could just die instantly and lose the game. Eugen takes a bit of damage. Now, Monster Rugby hitting first Nexus turret, but are just forced to disengage because the wave is cut short. Not having this Baron actually is hurting Monster Rugby Gaming right now.
I feel like we're just watching a volleyball match at this point, where it's just like, oh, you can have a wave. No, you have a wave. No, you have a wave. And we're just not getting anywhere. Like, they're very slowly trying to hit this turret, but
I think it might just go down. Yeah, the first next start. Hold on, that is the engage onto Lockstop. Bertree also getting low in the backside. That Viego very, very low, but Goose just jumping straight into the team of Orglis. Eugen flashing away, but no one is dying. Galul is still full HP. I Am King is full HP. This is the disengage from Monster Rugby. They have to run away with the tail between their legs. Eugen jumping forward yet again. That's Longstaff going again. Jojo on the front side is going to try and buy some massive damage onto Malako, who's going to go golden. Jojo shut down. 2 kills picked up by Orglis. And Eugen just keeps on going. That's a stun found onto Goose, and he's going to go down. Shut down, picked up by I Am King, and Keverman popped into the GA. Is this what Orglis were looking for? Shut down, found by I Am King. That is 4 kills, teleported in the top lane by Eugen.
oh my god. If you're sat here, I take this on a monster side of things. Like, all they had to do is pull and engage and just be confident with it. But you can see that they're panicking. Like, they're panicking once they go into any pressure as Lucian starts pumping out damage. Bertree's going to look like he might go down. If he does go down, they do have a problem here.
Eugen jumping forward, he still has the GA. So that is going to be procced right now. Bertree running the gauntlet to the base. Longstaff has respawned. This is not going to be the end of the game right now for Orglis. They are likely to take the top lane inhibitor. You can see Galul. Actually, no, they don't even take the inhibitor. No. But what a fight by Orglis.
Like, that is Orglis basically, or Munster were the team that played this extremely poorly. Like, it's a miracle fight for Orglis. Orglis played it well to be able to dance around the fight and get in and out. Like, at any time, Munster was only able to get onto one person with their amazing amount of engage. They only ever hit like one person here, one person there, and then they were just kind of Camille's eating out, Ezreal E's out, like Lucian is dancing around the fight, Evelyn doesn't get fully bursted, and then they start finding the damage being able to be traded back. And that is the result. Yes, they won the fight. They bring the gold lead within 3,000 gold now. And, I mean, the last 5 minutes have been a bit of a disaster for Munster, if not more.
Yeah, they really have been. And one thing also is someone cashed in on Goose's shutdown. I do have a feeling it was King. I did not catch who got it in the heat of the fight, but you can see that Ezreal, 3 items now, and it's sitting on solid components for the 4th one. So King is really going to become a major threat in those team fights now.
Yeah, I mean, the damage now, Ezreal can actually be untouched. He's the only person, realistically, that could actually step forwards at this point in the game and really pump out damage, because MRG don't really have that. Like, although they have great
Okay.
options, trying to get to Ezreal is difficult.
For the out of position, Jojo is going to flip Malako. Last caress out over the wall. Jojo has a massive shield. Yujian going over the wall. I'm King already is unstoppable. Magnet Stone keeping 4 members of Orlis together. Nibble still alive. Malako still alive, but Keverman dishing out the DPS. King is trying to do their best, but they're gonna go down in the end. And it's 4 kills picked up by Monster Rugby. Yujian trying to run away, but with only 1 person left alive. I think that's all she said, Monster Rugby. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't easy. It was a rough journey, but they get there in the end as they will take the win over Orglis.
Yay! They managed to win. I'm happy that they managed to get the win. This does mean that they could potentially look for playoffs, but they need to be better. If you're watching this game from Monster's point of view, that past 10 minutes of gameplay was inexcusable. Would be the best way of putting it here. Like, if you're a team that wants to go to playoffs and wants to go to UKLC and promote, you cannot play like that. You made that so difficult for yourselves for that final 10 minutes.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, the game is still massive win for Monster Rugby. They now move themselves to 4-5, and yeah, are much more secure because Orgles, they are looking, standings wise, they are still the top team to beat. Actually, we will be probably putting some question marks on it now in the next few rounds. But they got a win against the team that's at the top of the standings. It's good for Monsters in terms of where they are in the table. But I agree with you. This was not a game that you would see from a top team, especially. Well, okay, no, the last 10 minutes were not a game that you would see from the top team.
Yeah, I mean, if you partition this game down the middle and said for the first 20 minutes it was good, and then there's 5 minutes where it's like great, and then the rest of it was kind of like, what are we watching? Like, this is the equivalent if you had the chessboard in front of you, just flipped it up and just said, nah, I don't want to play it anymore. I'm not playing the game. I'll just do what I please. And yeah, I don't really have an excuse for what we saw here other than just Munster really not having the knowledge of how to play on 2 lanes and just close out games, which is the difference between, as I said, a regular side picking up some wins in the regular split and hitting playoffs and making a deep run is closing out games.
Yep. And this is really what we will now have to watch from Monster Rugby. And they close out the games in the future weeks because today was not a great showing in that, but a win is a win. They will be happy at least today. And then, Saturday is really when the work starts.
And for everyone else there, please don't leave. We're going to have Luciani versus London Academy next for our next game. And in between that, I believe we're going to take a short break. So just be ready for us.
Welcome back after the break, everyone. We are now getting ready for a match between Lucenti and London Academy. This one is going to be very important as both teams are towards the bottom of the standings.
hmm As you said it, both teams are at the bottom of the standings, but big but here.
Mhm.
Both can still make playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, this split is very close in terms of the standings. So, towards the bottom really means that if you start losing now, you will find yourself in a position down the line where it can become difficult. And especially if you're Lucendi right now, Munster just picked up a win. If you lose here, then London Academy will obviously pick up a win. So you will have a 2 point gap between the next closest team.
hmm And as you're saying, like 2 point gap, if you're gonna find a week where you decide to go and win every single game, this would be the week that you want to do it.
Hmm.
Like earlier weeks, find your rhythm, find how you want to play. But these weeks, as we're getting through later into the season, become more and more important. And this is one of the big ones. Being teams that are around you in the standings, not like you're at the very top or very bottom. These are literally right next to each other in
Yeah,
consideration for where they're at. These are the teams you need to beat to be able to get to the playoffs and say we deserve the chance to compete to go into the UKLC.
yeah.
And that for everyone at home, that's why this game is so fun to watch. Like this one is going to be the
Mhm.
one where if you're looking for a fight, both teams should be scrapping for like everything is on the line, and this is the game.
Yeah, and maybe now talking about what we can expect from both of these teams because it's also looking interesting in that department. I mean, Lucendi are a team which lost a lot of games. I honestly don't know. I think they went 0-5 before picking up their first win. Now picked up 2 wins in their last 3 games, and
hmm
they are starting to look like maybe they are finding their rhythm. But the wins that they get are almost exclusively based off high snowball champions, which are very high risk, high reward.
And you hit the nail on the head there. Like we've kind of see them go trying to look for a style that works for them. They've found something now where they're picking up wins, and it's been much more towards, hey, top solo lane, like solo lane specifically, I guess, would be not just top lane, but both. Need to be picking these kind of high resource champions, and the rest of the team is facilitating them to play around that and play through them. And that has enabled them to pick up the win against No Walk. Now, for consideration here, though, what we just saw out of No Walk, though, that's really where we throw in our hat and say, is it because another team has been performing poorly now as of late,
Mhm.
or a team that is on the rise? And this is going to be
Yeah.
the game that I think defines that real like variation for me.
Yeah, definitely for the side of Lucendi. Now, maybe trying to get the perspective from the other side. London Academy, they are at 3-5. Not necessarily what I would have expected from the beginning of the season, but they haven't been able to find that consistent stride yet.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Fidel. I mean, they've been waiting around like for him to come back,
Hmm.
and in the earlier weeks, I think they found a bit of like their rhythm in that area because he was facilitating the team, being that guy that took the bullet in drafts and basically said, don't worry, guys, I got this. Like, pick me Galio, pick me things that I can just like play for my team with, and it'll be fine." Looked a little bit off their rhythm in recent weeks with him being out of the team, but a welcome return for him.
Yeah, welcome return indeed. But we are going straight into the picks and bans. So we all have London Academy on the blue, Lucendi on the red side. And starting gold with the bans, very much comfort focus. Yone taken away from composites and Zach away from Puru.
And lots of target bans, but if there are target bans, that also means that there's going to be a lot of power picks like Gwen, like Viego, like Lulu or Karma or Nocturne. All of these things left available. And as I say that, Galio has been taken away from Fidel.
Yeah, Fidel not going to be able to find his hands on that champion. Zin and Gwen both off the table by London Academy, and Gwen is a champion that Lucendi played in the jungle, so those are two bans that are now targeted at Noided.
It makes a lot more sense. I'm not too sure about banning Gwen on blue side typically, unless that suggests that you just don't play it at all, which could be a potential weakness. But on the other side, that does ask some questions now because we have a choice between Viego or Nocturne, which is typically something it's first picked. But London might have other ideas, such as.
Oh, yeah, Akali is open. Let's be honest. If Akali is open, you gotta pick it up, especially that Lucendi had a great performance on this champion. But that was also an insanely fast Nocturne Viego lock-in from Lucendi.
As I said, I mean, the power picks are left open. Viego versus Akali, by the way, Viego can just kind of bully the Akali in the sense that like she can't sustain or damage him because he always just beats her up. And then later on, when Akali gets to like towards level 7 onwards, she could look for an all-in, but it's a difficult task.
Mm-hmm. Something that I'm now wondering about as well is whether it's going to be Nocturne top for Synapse. Since last game that Lucendi played against Orlus, we saw strong side Synapse once, and it worked pretty well. And Nocturne is Synapse's most played in solo queue. So, you know, if you do put 2 and 2 together...
You get 4.
I mean, yeah, you tend to do that, yes.
Quick maths. Aside from that, I mean, if Nocturne does go top lane here, I think it's okay. The Ziggs is smart here for multiple reasons. So, Ziggs is 1, a flex, but 2 is something that Camille, Tristana, and Akali might have difficulty actually trying to access towards the backline. There's also the added point. I'm going to ask you a question here. So, what do Nocturne and Viego both love? And think about it, they love to dive in.
Okay, I mean, true, yes.
Okay, and if they're diving in, what do they normally like to see on the enemy HP bar?
Well, they don't want to see that. Basically.
Precisely, and they don't want to see it for 2 reasons, and that's what Ziggs enables. Ziggs can quite literally throw his Q, his bombs, everything at them, throw like literally the kitchen sink, lower the HP bars, and then Viego and Nocturne go, hey, thank you very much, we'll take it from here, and we are blitzing into that enemy team right then and there. And that's why I like it. And the third aspect is it also enables them to have that flex. I think that's a nice little pickup to say, hey, we can like hold the game with it as well. Enough wave clear. LeBlanc picked up and the gauntlet thrown down.
Yeah, this is a hyper-aggressive team from Lucendi, but this is where they have been finding their strengths so far in this split. The wins that have come from Lucendi, pick those aggressive champions, go for a high, energy playstyle, I guess if you want to call it that, and it tends to just work out. Now, we didn't really give any love to London Academy, so just to run through the picks, Camille, Tristana, Rel, we are just checking if Sejuani is a placeholder. It is real. So, okay, so you have Camille, Tristana, Sejuani, and Rel.
So Sejuani has been picked up by LEC a few times here. It's basically seen as you can't sustain if you can fully CC somebody during the duration of when you 100 to 0 them, from a theory standpoint. I don't believe that's going to work out because I don't think they're going to be coordinated enough that they will target the right champions. And as I say that, Taric has been locked in. And Taric in this situation is literally one of the best picks that could have come out. And I'm going to give you a little bit of reason.
Yeah,
I
can already imagine.
Like, Taric ultimate against his team, everything's coming into you. There's no real range on it. Again, we're seeing another brawl comp, and you've just got Taric Ziggs. And quite literally the antithesis of what you want to fight against. Like, everything can dive into you, and also if you try doing that in return, Taric ult comes in and you're just invulnerable. Like, Lucendi, you're making me love you.
Yeah, I mean, that is true, but I am looking at the side of London Academy, and I also like their comp a lot, in the sense that this has attack points in every lane. It doesn't matter if it's top, mid, or bot lane. If any of those lanes actually do manage to find a significant lead, they can snowball so easily in my eyes.
Oh, absolutely. Do not get me wrong here. I'm gushing over someone else's draft because of the picks and what was taken and just how it thematically works out. On the other hand, though, it's still a solid draft from London Academy. Like, everything fits together. But the problem they're going to run into is just like when they hit a brick wall later on, I think, if they don't get solo lanes ahead. They do have things like they could do it, but it's difficult to get to. Well, as you said, Tristana Rel could all in at any time. Akali, when she hits the level 6 onwards, could all in at any time. Sejuani with 2 melee solo laners has a lot of CC potential. There are options available to them, and at any point they can turn those on.
I mean, I'm just looking at those two comps, and like my League of Legends brain is nowhere near as big as yours. And I can clearly see that those two comps are different, right? They're not the same comp. But how exactly are they different? Because to my eyes, it's just people want to kill each other. You've got, some engage on both sides. So what really is the difference here?
Oh, London Academy much more focused around their solo laners for like a 1-3-1 composition or style. Akali and Camille, both later on, if they can get ahead of their counterparts, would start bringing pressure into the side lanes. But Lucendi, on the other hand, There are no slouches in their solo lanes either. Like LeBlanc and Nocturne together are able to actually play off of each other quite easily, really. And then they added bonuses. They've got Ziggs and Taric, which is their wave clear. It's a lot safer, a lot more reliable, and they have that aspect that London don't. Like Tristana Rel can kind of struggle to maybe wave clear, and that could be an opening. But it's gonna be focused around solo lanes. Like whichever solo lanes in mid game are ahead will dictate how this game is played.
Alright, and then looking at those solo lanes, I mean, you already mentioned Camille, Sejuani, Akali. That's an insanely strong topside purely by the merit that Sejuani has got those two melee solo laners to set up. And then on the other side, Lucendi, I mean, it doesn't feel like you've got as strong of a synergy there. Maybe I'm wrong, but at least at first glance.
Not necessarily, yeah, it's not as strong, I'll give you that. It is, like, Viego would much rather power farm. Sejuani's much more likely to say, I can get to 6, but I can also kind of gank a little bit more because she's lower economy, doesn't really need to full clear at every given opportunity. Whereas Viego is much more greedy. So it's really a question of how much Sejuani's going to get done in getting his solo lanes ahead. But I think she's going to have a difficult task because from just me speaking freely, I feel like LeBlanc is going to have a bit of kill potential over the Akali. It's a 50-50 skill matchup from my eyes, like in whoever can get the all-in later on. And Nocturne versus Camille, Nocturne probably gets early prio, but Camille, when she spikes on Divine Sundra, can look to all-in on Nocturne. So you're noticing the thing here, like Nocturne and LeBlanc are a little bit more better to play on your own, which enables that greed from jungle, but it comes at a cost that they might be playing like 1v2 with Sejuani.
Yeah. And one thing that, you know, we have seen from London Academy, because this also isn't necessarily the draft that I would, you know, give as the standard London Academy draft. They are definitely throwing things up. But the standard way is usually Puru is the active carry in the early game, and it is then usually Rushex that takes over in the later game. And you can see the elements of that. Like, yes, there is variation. Hold on, wait. Oh yeah, Lucendi though, they are still a team that, you know, doesn't necessarily have that style refined, and now they are playing against an opponent which, you know, also has a sort of similar team comp. So what I'm trying to get at here is this is going to be a great test game for Lucendi. Let's see how strong they really are as a team.
Agreed. I looking at this, I'm going to enjoy the game. I'm going to sit back and say I think that Ziggs and Taric are going to be completely safe. We're going to see, like, or what we should see is bot towards top. Like, you want to be playing towards these top lane matchups. It's a fist fight. Could go either way. You want to try and secure that and put as much in your favor as possible. And once again, no funny business from level 1.
Yep, everyone just standing at the entrances. Noided will place a defensive ward, recall switch to sweeper most likely. And we also see a ward in the bot side with Rushex actually placing that one and going for the sweeper.
Bingo. Now, while we've got some downtime though, who's going to win the game?
Oh god, this is hard. I am gonna go for London Academy. Let's just go with this one because of Akali.
Because of Akali.
Because of
like Akali.
No, I hate her. But
you're voting for her, but you hate her.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen her lose a game recently.
Okay, I feel like I'm being gaslighted, but we'll take it. The blocker here in the mid lane, though, will kind of have a little bit of an advantage from being ranged. And we're just seeing everybody go to standard lanes. Sejuani here just getting a clear off. Viego also doing the same. But the difference here, Sejuani is pathing downwards towards Tristana and Rel, which suggests that in the next 3 waves, they will either want to crash and then be able to help with Crab or create a skirmish opportunity for Sejuani. And on the other flip side, you've got Viego pathing towards top. So Camille is going to have to be on her toes in case we end up with a 2v1 there. And I'm a little bit confused as to why Sejuani wants to path towards bot lane, if I'm honest, because I don't think she's going to find the opportunities against the Taric and the Ziggs.
I think there might be some of the same, you know, reasoning as why you would want to gank a Cassim before level 6. It's purely because Taric post level 6, you're definitely not ganking then. And as I said, you know, before, Rushex is one of those players that is played around quite a bit by London Academy, so maybe they just want to get him on the right foot straight away.
Yeah, we'll see what the reasoning is. I mean, it might be the case that Sejuani believes that he can't contest a Crab versus Viego at this stage of the game. So it feels that basically trading off and just going to standard clears while pathing away from Viego is going to be easier to make sure that she gets her crab, and just playing off bot lane prio to do so. And that might be the theory as to why she's chosen to do this. But as you see it here, trying to do a little cheeky cheater recall, but the wave is too small, and they, I believe, crashed a little bit too soon on the second wave, which resulted in that.
Yeah, no cheaters there for London Academy is the bot lane. So mid lane Fidel is getting bullied around quite a bit. If you do look at the CS numbers composites, it's able to very easily have control over this lane.
I mean, I look at this game and nothing's really happened as of yet. We're just seeing the scaling options, a little bit of trading here back and forth. But at the end of the day, Akali here struggling on the CS department. As I say that, as we see him miss the CS there, I'm sorry, Fidel, cast a curse, buddy. But it looks like he's trading his HP a lot here and not achieving a lot.
Yeah, and Composite's really having a stranglehold of this lane. I mean, it is a mid laner that came in very recently compared to, everyone else in UKEL. And I know, when I was on the mid-split show with Middlecode, where we had to put this guy down, it was a bit hard. We didn't have that much information, but now this is definitely a plus towards him.
Alright, I don't know who Middlecode is. I only know Shortcut.
True, fair enough. Okay, hold on a second, side. That is a solo kill, mate.
Yep. So, Nocturne here. Nocturne Camille, very, very close matchup. Could go either way in the first couple of levels. Viego is there to try and help counter out. Both ignites dropped, and we see the wave pushed in, and that's a big thing in a melee versus melee matchup. Synapse here showing up for his team when it's needed most, but in the meantime,
bot lane is fighting. Reese has to burn the flash as the camera switches down. So all of the summoners went down. Hawkeye going down as well. Jamsu picking up the kill. So across the map, 1-for-1. We have top lane winning for Lucendi and bot lane now finding a kill and crashing a massive wave. It's a huge W for Rashix and Jamsu.
Without even seeing this, I know for a fact that this should not have happened. Like, Ziggs, if he so wishes, can expend his mana to keep the wave, and he doesn't have to walk forward. So the fact that he was able to be engaged upon is just a massive positional error in lane. And the wave, I mean, I feel poor for Ziggs there. Like, they should not be CS down in this matchup. It should just be blanket even. The only people that should be realistically behind is Akali, because of just the natural laning dynamics in that one.
For sure. Now, we also have Infernal Dragon as the first one, so we'll see if either of the teams decides to pay a whole lot of attention towards that. I mean, now with that kill, I would expect London Academy's bot lane to be able to find some, sort of equilibrium where they have control over the bot side. Not necessarily hard pushing in, since I would imagine it's pretty hard to push into the Ziggs, but otherwise having priority bot.
Yep. And I mean, we see priority bot. The problem is that they're going to run this Akali versus LeBlanc, which typically Akali gets pushed in, but not normally this bad, or like the CS department shouldn't be like this far down, but it is. And the reality now is that you're not going to have mid prio, which means that LeBlanc can always get first move, but there's an opportunity here because she doesn't have mana and needs to base for her first reset, which Puro is looking to see if he can sneak in.
Yeah, who's staying in this bot side? I don't believe that they were hit by that bomb. We also have Noided sitting around this bot lane. Level 6 has got access to that ultimate now. So if anyone London Academy is going to get low, then resets are a potential go. Reese does miss the dazzle, unfortunately, and that is the gank attempt called off.
The one side attempts to engage, so Giovanni wants to walk away and go back to her camps. Noided is there to cover, and then either team is just left looking a little bit silly because they didn't achieve anything. But nothing happening is probably in favor of our red team here. So we just see more farming.
Yeah, not a whole lot happening. Fidel is looking to get out of this horrible mid lane matchup by roaming and trying to get something done. They've actually pushed wave before, so...
This is really bad from Fidel. The only reason he's there is because his wave position is so doomed.
Yeah, oh, yeah, Fidel might also just die here. Paranoia from Synapse down from top lane, but the fear will not connect, and Fidel just walks away, but loses the flash, loses the ultimate, and what else does he lose?
It's horrible. So Fidel, the only reason he was ever in that position to get that ward is because he couldn't walk up to like actually break the freeze that was happening in his lane at the time. Peru had gone to bot lane and left him miserable. He then gets chunked, doesn't have TP, so he's going to lose another massive wave. which delays him a lot on his experience, and potentially gonna give Drake
Noided going forward. Noided steals the dragon. Reese coming down from the bot side as well. And Puru is going to go down to Hoga. Lucendi finding now 1 kill. Jamsu jumps over the wall, and London Academy, they seem to be playing without direction almost.
I'd agree with that statement. Like, there's no way they should be looking to do a Drake there when their mid laner is in base with no setup. And they were just asking to be engaged on.
Now Lucendi are going for this red buff steal. Rashek's going for a cheeky one, doesn't quite find the kill. Synapse dies to Modo in the top side, but we have a bigger fight happening here. Jamsu finds the stun onto everyone, and Fidel picks up the first kill. Composite returning the favor as Lucendi members are getting low. Hawkeye finally makes their way up from the top side. Reese trying to escape, finally drops down to Jamsu. Overall, that is a 2-for-1 in the bot side fight in favor of London Academy, and the invade from Lucendi got punished.
I mean, we've gone from one side not having the setup for Drake and getting punished on, to then the complete opposite, where the other team has then said, hey, trying to take too much from that play and punishment. And then we end up back at even Steven again, where both teams have basically just played another game of volleyball, going, hey, no, you have the setup, no, you. And just basically, we've ended up in now, where we've kind of hit a bit of a lull. We're going to have a couple minutes now, I think, where we might calm down a bit, as both teams try to get a grip onto this game.
But I am looking at the gold numbers, and especially the kills. A lot of that gold that London Academy just got is sitting on Jamsu. Not necessarily the person that you want it to be sitting on if you are looking to put yourself over Lucendi.
Yeah, but it looks cool, right? He's 600 gold ahead
yes.
of his opponent. Like, that's great for the stats, I'm just saying. Like,
It's true.
that is some playoff contender level supporting. But in reality, you are right in what you say. It's not the greatest. And Tristana here being left by her lonesome, which means Ziggs should push in. But we should see blue team attempt to make their play here onto the Herald. But it looks like they're being pushed out of the position.
Well, going forward, taking way too much damage. Paranoia from Synapse, that's a kill. As Fidel goes down in a play that should not have been made there.
Yeah, I'm going to be brutally honest here, but I don't... So far from what I've seen, Fidel really doesn't look comfortable on this Akali right now in terms of the matchup, but also just his actual team fighting with it after. And I think he's really starting to feel the pressure now, and his teammates can't quite bail him out because Puru is on Sejuani, because Camille needs to scale. These components of their composition need time, and they don't have the capability to deal with somebody that's struggling.
Yeah, and I mean, Fidel has been, a mid laner that usually defaulted into more of those supportive champions, or, well, not Akali, something that I can say for sure. So, a bit off topic, and you can see him struggling as, judging by the summoners and health bars of the two AD carry players, I can imagine Rashek's tried to die on Hawkeye, and both of them burned a lot of summoners, but at the end of the day, they're still alive.
Yeah, he's forced to go off in base, though, which means Tristana's going to pick up a few plates here, due to the nature of how quickly she can push through turrets. Akali is basically abandoning her lane and just trying to move over for a team and play with them. But
Jamsu going over the wall. We see yet another fight. Fidel is trying to survive, but no, that goes down as well. So it is a 1-for-1 at the end of the day, with London Academy having the position to go for one more plate. There we go, one more plate.
See, although the plates are going over, the problem is they're going to be playing 4v5 for the rest of this game. If you're going by chess terms here, Fidel is a piece that is no longer usable. Like, it's a dead piece on the board that's just kind of sat there. And he's going to remain like that unless a miracle happens for him, where he gets like 3 kills and a massive wave given over to him. I mean, it's level 9 versus level 8. The gold disparity is 1.5k in a solo lane. And
12 minutes.
At 12 minutes. And Viego is now hitting to a point where his greediness is starting to pay off. He's at even levels, and he can start to sustain and build through. Like the break-even point is far gone.
Yep. And Herald now summoned in the mid lane. This charge will take down the tower. You have Reese up here as well. Cosmic Radiance is up and available. And Lucendi take the first tower. And one thing that we haven't really mentioned is Synapse on this Nocturne is looking clean. It's a pick that was banned away from him so many times. I'm not entirely sure of every game, but at least most of the games it was banned away from Lucendi. Now we get to see him on this champion. And for someone who was, definitely rated down by many people in the top lane lists, he's popping off.
Yep. And I mean, we've seen him pop off once. just going into a quick
Pause.
pause. Give us a sec, guys. But if we go back to my point, or our point about Synapse, didn't look the greatest throughout the split, but last game, this game, having some redeeming qualities, starting to get to that like form now where I'm looking at him and going, this was the Synapse that we were kind of promised with some of the newer rookies. He should be the guy that you're looking at and saying, we depend on you. You should be the stability in our game where you should kind of go even or win your lane if possible. And that's happening. That's a really nice thing. We like that. And Lucendi looks so much better now that their mid and jungle is able to play the game due to the swap out.
Yeah, it feels like a whole different team, to be completely honest. And on the flip side, London Academy, I mean, they aren't looking the greatest in this game, to be honest. But do you see any worrying signs maybe in this team? Let's put it this way.
Well, I mean, we've already hit on the Akali one. Normally, when she hits to like level 7, level 8, she has opportunity or a small window where she could get onto LeBlanc, and then it becomes a bit even. That's long gone. Camille versus Nocturne, that is the area I'm looking at and saying, okay, you've got Divine Thunderer now. Maybe we can look to do something because she could try to take the 1v1. And it's going to slowly get worse for Nocturne, I believe, as we go on. So that's something that's in their favor. And Tristana, also being 20 CS ahead with a load of plates in her back pocket, is probably going to be something that we're looking at and saying, hey, there's an opportunity here.
Okay, Rushek's flashing forward, going ham, finds
Beautiful.
just enough damage. I don't believe the bomb was on the spectator client, because I did not see that coming.
Yeah. And TP coming in to answer here from Nocturne. He's going to TP and ult immediately, I believe.
Yep, Paranoia straight onto Rushek's, trying to get into the damage range, and there's the kill. Synops picks up one up, Jamsu flashing under the turret as well, just to stay safe. And it's a 1-for-1 at the end of the day, but it is Lucendi that had to commit more resources to find their kill.
Yep. Could have been a little bit of a nicer thing, though, is if he had used his ult before TPing, but I believe that London Academy may have struggled to see the TP because you have to see it on your screen itself. You obviously don't get access to the minimap, and there may have been causing a little bit more confusion. But at the end of the day, it's a nice play. The answer back. And now Ziggs is just going to come over here and try to wave clear, but may end up losing his life.
Oh, the Glacial Prism connects, and that is an easy kill. Admawodo catches in the second of the game. Compensates is up in the top lane. Level 10 is just going to go for the wave. Smart choice, but teleporting from Fidel, I think you might want to abandon this tower. At the very least,
I mean,
where you stand.
She's TPing up, but then everyone else on blue team needs to go and answer the mid waves that are being pushed in, because now the trade-off is Lucendi here are going to move from mid lane down to bot lane and execute onto this Tristana if she tries to stay. And we're going to see the exact same play that just happened to Ziggs.
Yep, Synapse going forward. There's the Stride Breaker slow. You don't really get to move with that one. And Synapse is on a killing spree.
I feel like what should have happened here is that blue team should just accept we need to get mid wave. Tristana backs off respectfully, and then also...
oh, God. That was absolutely disgusting. So Composites loses Flash. Admiral gets another solo kill. So two things that happen here. First of all, Composites should not have really died here, as, you know, someone has been doing quite well. And two, that Camille now has 3 kills.
Yeah, so Camille is one big girl right now. Like, the amount of gold that has just gone into her back pocket, and I think she's also going to get the local gold for this turret on the next wave. But I think Nocturne might get here in time to stop that. But she can just base after this. Still going to be a massive gold spike. Level 12 at 15 minutes, pushing on to nearly what will be 1.5 items. That is a huge win condition.
Here comes Synapse. There's the slow with the Stride Breaker. Let's see the DPS check. Does he win those? I think he does. There is the shutdown picked up by Synapse. Caster Curse. Anyone?
Yeah, it's Caster Curse. She could have just pushed and based and then got out of there. And now Synapse picks up another kill. And Synapse, I mean, while we were saying Camille just got a massive gold lead, is now 5-1 on Nocturne with a 500 gold shutdown. You win some, you lose some. Okay?
Yeah. This game is just almost perfect balance. I say that, but I did just look at the overall gold, and it is 3,000 in favor of Lucendi. Not entirely sure how that happened. Okay, I see the individual gold. It's mid lane.
To give you the answer here, he got the kill on Tristana. He was then given the local gold from bot lane turret, as well as coming up to top and picking up local gold there. But he looks like he's going to trade it off.
Yeah, Synapse bringing balance to Summoner's Rift yet again as Rushix now gets the shutdown. You see, everything just finds its way back.
I mean, at the end of the day here,
Doiden is going to get him. Okay, I think it's fine.
Yeah, he should be fine. He had flash, he had his ult, he had his W. Like, lots of maneuverability actually for a champion that has so much sustain, by the way. Riot, can you have a look at that?
Oh no, we calling on a ward, that is going to be a kill. Just who gets it? It's going to be Rushx. Third kill on that Tristana now, has got the Kraken Slayer already, and with a shutdown and a kill now, is probably going to be looking quite healthy on the damage.
All I'm gonna say is, guys, can we have 1 minute without somebody getting caught?
No. I already answered it for you. It's that simple. We are probably not going to have that. It's been a kill a minute.
We are just constantly... We want to praise somebody for doing something well, and then they immediately overstep afterwards. And it's just been going like this for the past 3 or 4 minutes. But at the end of the day, with all that trading, Gendi have ended up with 3 turrets to 0, and 2k gold up in their back pocket. So at the end of the day here, although it looked bad for Ziggs and he's kind of in a rough spot, LeBlanc, Nocturne, Viego, all kind of getting to their really big spikes. 2 items coming in nearly for everybody there. And they're going to start hitting like trucks on their own.
Modo going straight for a Hawkeye. There's the Paranoia. The rest of Lucendi are there to protect their AD carry. Modo is extremely tanky though. Finally drops down to Hawkeye. Jamsu going for the engage. Reese flashes away to stay alive. Rushx also escaping on the Silver of Health. Fidel is going to get stunned in the Shroud. Synapse takes the kill to the Rushx, doing absolute work on the backside. Still staying alive. No, drops back as the rest of the team is there to follow. Lucendi weaving in and out of this team fight. 3 kills to none as they're turning their eyes towards Dragon.
And ultimately, at the end of the day here, we said whichever solo lanes were going to be stronger or ahead would win the fight. It does not matter about Ziggs or Taric in this competition. They can fall as far behind as they wish, really, because they're just the wave clear component. They're just the enablers of their solo lanes and jungler. And in that fight, immediately started by solo lanes, gold lead onto them, creates a positive fight for them, and then they're able to take our Drake here, reset, and now they're going to be able to look to come out onto the map with an even healthier back pocket.
Yeah, and I wanted to say this before the fight, but the shiny new Hull Breaker was completed on Synapse. So, in a side lane, it's gonna be scary. At least, I hope that's the icon for the Hull Breaker. I'm getting it right? Cool.
It is, yes, yeah. And the other one, if you... Oh, worrying is Anathema's Chains. Sorry, I had to work on the pronunciation. Anathema. Which we might see come out, but I doubt it. As we're seeing, he's just being a little bit cheeky, just saying a little hello to Rel here as he's trying to walk through. But Nocturne here, looking like he might try to fight Camille with the LeBlanc covering.
Yeah, that 2-on-1 will definitely be favorable for Lucendi. Admirodo still not escaping the fear. Composite is there for the burst that Hextech ultimate is only going to buy a few seconds. That is all of the burst damage. Admirodo still finds the kill in the 2-on-1.
Oh, this is the definition of no, you take it, no, am I, no, you. And they just kept doing this, and then Camille just got her cooldowns back up and managed to trade. 9 times out of 10, by the way, that just goes down 1-0. But they're just gentlemen, of course. We are in the UKEL, home of gentlemen. Yeah. And yeah, it ends up trading nicely and equally. As Peru here, trying to do the opposite play. Saw that Noya was basically hanging around, but they knew that 2 people commit to bot, so tries to find something else in the top lane.
And oh yeah, that tower just did not stand a chance. We with the Hull Breaker, Synapse taking that one down. And we will see actually in a few minutes if Synapse decides to stay on the side, which I damn hope he will with this item buy. How quickly will those towers go down? I actually wonder. I have not seen that item in game yet.
To give you context here, I can't say it on cast, but it's really quick. Like, really quick. To the point where it's actually, if you don't get there to answer it, it just becomes, like, turrets just get eviscerated, would be the best way of putting it. And now you're seeing red team here, gonna use mid lane prio and then immediately look onto the side lane.
Yeah, the Synapse train is not stopping anywhere. Fidel has to use that perfect execution. Still has access to flash. Remember, Synapse is running the ignite. I don't think either, as Composite is looking to cut Fidel off. Fidel burning the flash right now, but it might just be to buy time. Rest of London Academy are here. We are seeing a 4-on-5 fight, with Admirodo being still a bit away, looking for the flank of the players coming down. It will find invulnerability onto 3 members, but no one from London Academy is dying just yet. Jumps in the backside, buying a lot of time. Synapse finally in the rampage. Rushx taken out of this fight, and there is no more damage left for London Academy. There's only the escape, which they will not find, as Lucendi finds the ace by the double for Composites and the Baron on top of that.
And my god, like that entire fight sequence was just started from side lanes again. It's always going to side lanes and then coming in, and then you just see Rush X Jamsu try with Peru to try and answer it. They can't quite manage it. Tarek Ult comes in, hits 4 people on his own team, makes them invulnerable. Sustain and damage starts coming and flying around. And ultimately, end of the day here, London Academy, their carries just can't find the windows they need to deal damage. And it hurts a lot. And now they've given over Baron, and Baron is enabling their solo lanes even more when we said that their solo lanes have already been being vital to how they've ended up in this position in the game.
When you sign up 3 items, just finding those paranoias all the time, I feel like we really should praise the man a bit more, because just pulling the trigger every time someone overextends on the side lane, not afraid to go for those kills, 3,500 gold ahead in the matchup against Camille, and still the undisputed king of the side lane right now. And he's going it again! I literally just finished the point saying how he pulls the trigger every time. This one, a bit more shaky. Reese is on his way to come back, teleport in from Fidel. There is the Mega Inferno Bomb sign-up, still staying alive. Fidel trying to dash into the fight, and Lucendi are too damn strong. They are unstoppable right now. There's nothing you can do, London. Just deal with it. Double kill picked up by Noiden. Lucendi find 3, and they're just gonna keep going.
Yep. I mean, the ultimate thing here is Synapse is so strong and tanky to the point where he just shrugs off any damage dealt to him, and then just bomb. The rest of his team has gone through mid into the bot lane while they're building up their position, and they collapse. They get everybody on the team apart from Rush X and Jamsu, who were away in the top lane dealing with waves, and that should be 2 inhibs, and then we should just see them walk out of the base and then go, we're going to end this game in a second. Let's just get our recourse in.
Chandy not going to greed, doing exactly as he said, getting out of the base, going for that Ocean Dragon. And man, where I said this after the win against Olbres that Lucendi got, but where was this Lucendi in the first round robin?
Precisely. I mean, it feels like they've been unleashed, right? That would be the best way to put it, if in a matter of speaking. Like, they've been unleashed. They finally found what works. And full credit to them, they're playing well. Like, Synapse looks a completely different player to what we saw in it recent weeks. And yeah, I'm just blown away. Props.
Well, we are 25 minutes in. Sole point now for Lucendi. Is there a way back for London Academy? A reasonable, I suppose.
This is very much like the first game, and I'll give you the same answer in the words of a really wise man. I'm a caster, not a miracle worker. With 10k gold behind, and the fact that your solo lanes are like the real only win condition you had was maybe through team fighting and hitting onto the Ziggs and Tarek, because they were so vulnerable with the amount of engage that you had. That's gone because red team are just going to group up as 5. And then the other one was Camille trying to get ahead in being able to contest the Nocturne. That is long gone. That's like another 20 minutes away. So the only thing they could try to do is CC down somebody. The difference between last game and this one is no org had no real CC to capitalize and make a pick. London Academy do have some options, but man, it is so difficult.
Yeah, it is a standard 4-1 execute competence called on the rotation. Immediate engagement on Admiral, but going golden, getting that cosmic radiance, and Composite is fine. It is Fidel that goes down. Puru is now trying to flash away. Noiden goes over the wall. Rushix can't even get close enough to deal damage. This is just sad if you're London Academy, but absolutely reinvigorating if you are on the Lucendi hype train. Admiral are trying to jump in, make something happen. One last try in this game, and he just cut down where he stands. The first start going down. Synapse popped into the GA finally after what felt like ages, but it's a victory lap for Lucendi. There's nothing that London Academy can do. The second Nexus start falls down as Lucendi will find the second win in a row, defeating London Academy and putting their stake in for the playoffs.
Love to see it, love to see it. And if I'm honest, they played really well across the board. The only thing you'd maybe look at is maybe Hawkeye and Reese in the bot lane there, and just saying, hey, maybe there's a bit too much aggression. But otherwise, it was an enjoyable thing to watch. Like a game that basically focused on the solo lanes, did everything that was said on the tin, and hit all and ticked all the boxes, really.
Yeah. It was something which we have so far not seen from Lucendi, but now they come in yet again against another team, London Academy this time, and execute this comp that they drafted insanely cleanly. And I think the big question for Lucendi that I have right now is, can they keep going? They are 2-0 in the second round robin, but can they keep that momentum forward? Because I said they stake their claim for playoffs. They are still 7th and 8th tied with London Academy. They need to win more.
Yeah, as you said, like this win doesn't automatically get them there, but like they need a teeny tiny bit more, like a few more games. It's a really good footing to put yourself into, though. Like the fact that you're putting yourself in a place now where it's your choice of whether you're going to make it or not is a much better position than having to rely on other results. Which, if London Academy play like that in other games, they will be finding themselves in that position. However, there were some redeeming moments for them. I will give props to Rushex and Jamsu with the amount of pressure they were able to achieve in a 2v2. That was something they could definitely work with. Camille, when she got to a certain point, could have taken over this game with some of the kills, but the compliments end there.
Yeah, it really wasn't too much more.
Yeah, that was a rough game for Fidel there. Like, I mean, Akali performance just really wasn't it. And it looked like he got manhandled. To be brutally honest with you, like that was just not the pick for him.
Yeah, I mean, Fidel, like I remember some Galio performances looked great, but Akali just not the one really, and not much more to say. London Academy sort of go back to the drawing board, figure out what works, because this team, performed well in the first round robin, so I still have hopes for them, but they are now in a position where they really can't afford to drop that many more.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we keep hitting on it, and it's probably going to become quite boring for people at home. But at the end of the day, here, like it is a big thing for these players. They want to win games. They want to get into playoffs. They want to show what they can do there. And these are the kind of games where you look back and go, "What could I have done differently? Why did we choose this? Why did we go with this approach?"
Yeah.
And I want to see what they change now, because this is probably the wake up call they need to say this is not going to get us to playoffs. What do we need to go back to win games?
Yeah, for sure. But I do think that this is probably enough of us talking. So yeah, this is it from me and Temporal. Thank you all for watching us, but do not go anywhere. Next game is X7 versus London United, which Milky Cereal and Temporal will be bringing to you, so stick around.
Behold, my son, there's a way to save you all. Don't you despair, don't be petrified. There is an armor, ancient magic made it strong, and you shall wear it when you face the fight. This harness will guide us to dangerous night. Yeah! I am the light bringer. Now listen, fellow warriors, I ask you, should my campaign come to an end? There's way more to avenge. Whoa! 50 million souls living in this realm without much hope. Not too long ago, this kingdom was a golden state of hope. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Yeah, bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer. Call down the reckoning, bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. We're jumping in to games 3 and 4 here for the UKEL Week 5, Day 1. I'm Milky Cyril, and alongside me is, well, good hair day, Temporal. How you doing?
It's pretty good. It's been a good hair day. Today's been a lot of fun. I've caught bits of the 2 UKL games that have gone so far. Unfortunately, I had to rush home from work in the middle. So, commiserations to Orglis. And who did Lucendi just beat? Whoever Lucendi just monstered, because that was a lot of fun to watch.
I believe it was London Esports
Oh.
Academy.
Unfortunate LDNA. But yeah, lots of fun so far. I'm keen to see the fun continue into our last 2 games.
Yeah, and for our final 2 games of the day, we've got X7 taking on the other London United, and then Demise taking on Nox. And these are 4 of the top 5 teams in the leagues if you look at the current standings. And let's talk about X7 London, right? We can talk about Demise Nox later. We've got an entire pre-game show for that one. Right now, X7 against London. How do you see this one unfolding, Temporal?
London United, unfortunately, seemingly on path to come forth again, as they are forever cursed to do. Sorry, you are the Team Liquid of the UKEL. You'll always end up just in the upper bracket, and that's not a bad thing. And X7 looking to, I think, still bounce back. The end of season form, maybe a bit reminiscent of Hive last split, where it just struggling. We're struggling at the end here. Things don't look clean. Things don't look crispy. And whether they want to turn that around now or hope to bounce back just before playoffs, time is on the clock.
Now, I want to jump in and talk about the X7 top jungle duo, because it was kind of the talking point that I brought up when I got to cast on X7 last week. Raider Anonymous, coming into this split, a lot of people had very high expectations of them. There were very high expectations of X7 as a whole. How close? I mean, I don't think anyone would say X7 have quite met those expectations at the end of the day. They are currently tied for first instead of being first clear.
Yeah.
How close do you think they have got to those expectations, and what do you think has been holding them back?
So I think early weeks X7 went defeatless pretty much for like a while. I can't remember exactly who the
3-0,
initial
I
loss
think.
was to. Yeah, there was a 3-0. That's like a good start. We wanted to see that carry on for a team that looked like they were clear at the top of the pack. Their main sort of competition in Orglis have started to struggle a little as well, and it's a case where all of the top teams have shown some weakness, whereas we were expecting an invincible X7 side that would really sort of push the limit and try and capture Resolve Academy, or it was just Resolve of the time last summer, where they just went pretty much defeatless and didn't show much vulnerability throughout the split.
And with that, we are jumping on in to picks and bans. X7 over on the blue side, London United on the red side. The Rengar and the Akali are the first 2 bans of the game.
I am so not surprised. Icy Gale, always a standout on this Rengar. LDNA, who played last weekend against LDNU, managed to, unfortunately, invite in the Rengar like they did in the derby to start the split off. And it's just a little bit incredible that this wasn't banned all the time. Every time it's been up, I believe it's been taken. So making sure that Icy Gale doesn't pop off here, but both bans focused on the top half of the map, junglers and top laners alike.
And this is what we were talking about as well. You know, we talked about this top jungle duo of Raider Anonymous. We're seeing the Gwen ban coming through the Akali. You know, it can go mid, it can go top. The Nocturne as well. Now, Xin Zhao, so strong in X7, have removed that as well.
Okay, with the Nocturne taken away on R3, this Lee Sin is a nice safe pick. The major counter in Nocturne removed. So I'd like to see X7 maintain this flexibility throughout the first half of the draft. It's a major flaw if that is taken away. Now we're going to see LDNU's answer, because this is a pretty open, pretty standard draft. Many of the power picks taken away. Few target bans. We're going to see a pretty standard first half if all things go to plan.
Varus is being hovered and will be locked in for London United. We'll see whether they want to pair that Varus with the support right now. Maybe they take something like a Karma and just keep that flexibility as you were mentioning.
Yeah, the Karma has a pretty decent showing on this patch. I'm also a fan of Nautilus, just blind in the UKEL. The odds that you are going to not be able to just break a team fight open, very small. I am a fan of this, though. Dunlozzi's Hecarim has shown up a couple of times before.
Well, maybe we'll be horsing around just a little bit. Hecarim picked up. The team fight might be strong with the side of London United, and we'll see how X7 want to round out their first phase of picks and bans with their B2 and B3 pickups.
They will be trying to answer some dive from Hecarim and lane supremacy from Varus here. Lots of options for X7. There's a number of ways you can approach this.
Solution picked up. That will most likely be going into Ketsuo's hands in the mid lane. I don't really think we've actually seen any Lucian ADC for quite a while from what I recollect.
Yeah, not for a long time. The champion has his solo lane dominance instead. Will be skewed more towards the bottom lane in a few patches. I believe it is on the Riot's radar to turn Lucian back into a marksman. We'll see how they succeed with that. Rel picked up here on B3.
We saw Rel actually in the previous game between, I think it was the game between Luchendi and London Academy, or maybe I'm mistaking that for
No,
the...
you got it.
Okay, there we go. So the team fight strong. Good to see Rel kind of, let's say, breaking her way back into the Rift. We talked about how the team fight might be looking strong. We've got the Alistair for the disengage into that Rel engage. As our producer and observer mentions that this is a horse versus horse action. Quite literally, as I said, Temporal, we're horsing around on the Rift for this game.
Yes, quite. Alistair locked on R3. I'm not a huge fan of the Alistair personally. It is not the best answer to the Rel. It has a couple of conditions and it can break open 2v2 before level 6. Afterwards, I really think the Alistair pick very conditional. And if we see it succeed here, it will be huge props to Niza, but it's not always so easy in the Alistair versus Rel setup for the Mad Cow.
The thing that always kind of confuses me as a support player, I can't play Alistair or Rel. I'm terrible at them for some reason. Probably because I'm just bad at the game. But they're both disengaged champions. They both work really well against engages. But as you mentioned, that Rel just comes out a little bit better than the Alistair when they pair into each other.
Yeah, Rel just has so many options, and then Alistair can sort of deny one dive forwards on a longer cooldown than Rel's. So it's pretty rough trying to stop the Rel playing her game, and instead Alistair's got to try and do his own thing. But then if he does, he can end up with his AD carry stunned and stunned himself if he chooses to target Rel's paired champion, and it can get pretty difficult. Now, with 2 bruises taken away, Raider targeted heavily in the second half. This is, we're told Lucian is actually Tristana and is a proxy pick, which is pretty interesting. Normally we're used to seeing Teemo and Annie for those. So actually the bot side locked out from X7.
And that does, well, the Tristana, I was going to say, it can pair with the Rel. Could we potentially be seeing it going into Ketsuo's hands as well now that this LeBlanc has been picked up for Kusei?
There is potential. I doubt it a little, although Tristana can have some pretty interesting interactions with LeBlanc in the mid lane if she survives the early game. I'm not sure if that's a real Lux, Milky Cereal.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. To be honest, I wouldn't mind if our games got illuminated, but I think now's not the time, Temporal. It's summer, the sun's out for a while. We don't need any extra illumination. What we need is darkness. We need more Nocturnes on the Rift.
If only London United hadn't taken it away. All right, I'm just going to presume these are all...
They're all proxies. We don't
proxy
actually know what the
picks.
compositions are at all, right? So scratch everything. Is completely different drafts, but we are waiting to get confirmation from production. And apparently that is a Lux. That is a Vladimir, so Temporal. We're not going to talk about anything else. But We're going to talk about our love for Lux and our love for cosmetics. No, we don't talk about Lux cosmetics, okay?
Oh dear, that's an R5 Yone in a setup where he has no answer. Oh, London, you might have just drafted Exodian on R5.
See, is that a good thing or a bad thing when you say draft Exodia?
It's a great thing for London United. They've bought that 5th card together, and I think that can be assigned into any lane against X7, and it's going to look really rough on a champion versus champion basis. Again, if X7 can make it work, great. That Yone is dead scary. Yone loves ranged mages who can't consistently get him out of the lane, and then he gets all the choices in approach. Any sort of poke towards him is a chance to soul and bound forwards, get onto the mage immediately, and then choose when you leave around the most major cooldown. Yone loves these lanes. And it is oh so scary that he was able to just go straight through there onto a team that fears him.
So when we look at the X7 solo lanes, we are fairly sure it's going to be the Lee Sin in the top lane, Lux in the mid lane. For London United, they've got the LeBlanc, they've got the Yone. Do they put this LeBlanc top and let Yone play, as you say, into those mages that can't get him out of lane? Or do they let the LeBlanc stay mid?
To chop you off, I'm pretty sure the Lee Sin has to jungle and the Vladimir has to be top
Oh,
lane.
yes, of course, Vladimir.
Because looks like Lee Sin got into his most minor flex, which is the jungle this patch. I personally don't rate him. We've seen top teams make it work, but it's similar to the Gragas jungle where it's good, it's okay. I personally would never choose it, but if your lanes are getting sandwiched, it avoids you getting draft trapped and not being able to complete a draft, which is, you know, a great thing to have on a champion. As these bans come through, we might be informed of which way those champions go by whether Raider or Ketsuo locks them in.
I mean, there's always a slight possibility as well that, you know, maybe Raider locks in Vladimir and then goes mid with it. I don't know. I'm just putting out ideas here.
I don't. I think you're getting off your getting slightly off the rocker. So I would expect the Lux to go mid as well because we saw the Rel. Yep. So I'm just repairing it quickly in my head. We have to see the Lee Sin jungle. So scaling is the name of the game for X7 here.
Okay.
Sure, they've picked the Tristana and the Vladimir, two late game titans of years gone by, who are both pretty resistive to Hecarim engage. So Hecarim has to all in for his engage. He has to onslaught shadows forwards. He can do it the long distance if he needs to get the maximum fear. Play the team fight forwards from there. It's really quite strong at removing that Varus's weakness as well. The rest of LDNU was sort of picked in a way that X7 might have wanted those champions, but didn't quite work out. Production is reminding us that Icy Gale plays a nasty Yone and is currently setting Grandmasters. 63% win rate. We're aware of this, and I am ready to watch the show unfold.
And you talked about that all-in from the Hecarim. When you've got something like a Yone as well, the all-in power kind of doubles up. And then you've got the Varus and the Alistair to pair with it. I am interested, though. Are we going to be seeing the Lethality Varus or more of the crit Varus to work better and synergize better with London United in those team fights?
So I think the sort of crit AD Varus does quite well here. I prefer to see it played slightly on the on-hit style, as there are a few disadvantages to it on the patch. Sure, your long-range arrows, your piercing arrows do a little less damage, but only slightly, because you're still building that AD carry style. And then with the lethal tempo, you continue to shred through high health targets. If LDNU somehow don't find themselves with favorable lane matchups, they can instead look for that team fight where Varus's damage won't fall off, won't be tied to his mana and cooldowns, and will instead be able to play through even a very tanky Vladimir potentially. So Varus can be that sort of late game sledgehammer that comes slowly along from level 1 to complement the team fighting prowess of the rest of the LDNU squad.
I'm also looking towards Kusei as well, because he's on the LeBlanc, and I love LeBlanc, right? LeBlanc's a cool champion. She goes and she one-shots people, and anyone who plays League of Legends loves that. No, in all honesty, LeBlanc is a fun champion. You get to see some cool stuff happening. But I'm looking at this LeBlanc, and I'm thinking, okay, who are your targets? Because if you try to go on someone like Sin, surely he can just rocket jump out to safety. So does that mean that he can only look towards Ketsuo?
So LeBlanc's cooldowns that jump forwards and apply pressure to the Tristana are shorter than Tristana's rocket jump. So the LeBlanc can, if assigned that way, can look to sort of burn that one out and sort of allow someone else an angle in onto the Tristana. Tristana can chain her rocket jump to most of the things going on from LDNU, which is sort of casting at about the same time, and then if CC'd, the jump will still go through, as that little bit of latency means it can be cast during the CC. I don't believe that works for Yone's Fate Sealed. I believe that the sort of pull-in effect grabs you out of the jump. We'll have to see if that one comes up this game. But otherwise, the Tristana relatively safe. It's whether a Chains of Corruption will find her at some stage. Be interested to see if Sin went for the cleanse this game, as I think I personally would have.
that cleanse will help a lot against the ethereal chains and the chains of corruption from Blank's Varus Ultimate, as well as even the fear from the onslaught of shadows. And I do want to move the conversation towards our junglers. Decent for Anonymous, Hecarim for Dunlosey. Where can we expect them really to be looking? Where do they want to be ganking? Where do they want to be building up leads for their teams?
Okay, both junglers are probably going to be gunning for top lane early levels. They don't have to play for bot lane. They probably will end up contesting a crab whether they want to or not. That's mostly about top lane access. You can't, generally speaking, kill Yone with Vladimir before 6. But if an early trade for UKEL doesn't go perfectly, I think Anonymous should probably be in position to try and capitalize, push things backwards, and prevent Vladimir going down before that pull comes through, before he's able to set up in the lane. That should be the name of the game. You don't want to turn Vladimir into a glorified cannon minion by UKEL killing them over and over again. It's going to be a bit of the name of the game for Raider, trying to survive until he scales through here. So that's sort of Anonymous's condition in the early game. Lee Sin is full skill expression, and you'll want to be sort of innovating and doing different paths and things, try and surprise your opponents, get in there with your kill pressure. And the game's going to be a bit more standard for Dunlosey on this Hecarim for LDNU. Instead, it's going to be about generating advantage, getting Hecarim to 2 items where he starts to scale off into infinity, making sure your Varus is stable, making sure Yone is having a positive time in that top lane, probably roaming around the jungle with Kusei's LeBlanc as well. Lots of options for this Hecarim. As long as you take any of them and stabilize the rest, you're going to be in a good shape.
I do like the fact that we are, as you mentioned, going to see some action, hopefully towards the top side of the map, because this is arguably, X7's strong point, Raider and Anonymous, and X7 going to continue to playing towards it, whereas London United, I think the way it's been kind of expressed to me is more of a jack of all trades, in the sense that if they want to play around top, they can. If they want to play around mid, they can do that. All of the players are capable of playing strong side very well.
Fantastically. I think the LDNU squad is really well balanced. You've got UKEL, this top laner who can pop off and show up on his own. Dunlosey, who did spend most of the last split dominating the UKEL on Hecarim. Kusei, who can play the Akali, play these LeBlanc-style champions and get out of lane with his jungler and push that forwards. Blank, the best team-fighting AD carry, I think, in the UKEL. I think he always shows up fantastically. He does these late-game clutch scenarios that are so good. Even if they're not 100% of the time fantastic, they're just such great fun to watch. And then Niza, one of the better supports, I feel, in the league, who's had a great time sort of maybe not showing up in every single lane, but being the difference in the late game team fights. I think that they can rely on every player from LDNU is a great boost to this team.
And with that, we are jumping on into game, but we have been greeted via, well, how do we put this? A very nice pause. Justin, as I like to call that pause. But the pause is over, and we head into game, and it's looking like it's just going to be a standard 5-point start, Temporal.
5-point start indeed. We're still frozen up. That's a Riot Games bug issue. We'll return to gameplay in just a moment as we review the text on Doran's shield and Doran's ring. It is a pretty
ability power. Did you know that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad I did. Yeah, pretty standard starts across the board. UKEL on this. You normally take the Doran's shield and Resolve Rune secondary. Keep your health topped off in lane, just so that you can exert that pressure. Doran's ring pretty standard for the Vladimir. Both teams eager to not give away advantages here at level 1.
Now, Temporal, I want to throw to something a bit spicier. All right. So,
Go on.
you are officially currently, well, I don't know if we can say officially, but you are currently the greatest analyst in the UKEL. With our prediction sheets, you're top. You're sitting pretty with 20 right guesses. If anyone wants to know mine, I won't be telling you. So, considering that you're at the top, Temporal, you previously said that you thought X7 are going to win this. That's what I see on your sheet. Having seen the drafts, do you stand by that? Do you still think X7 have the tools needed to them to take this win?
I'm really interested in X7's draft, and I'm going to qualify choosing X7 for this game as well. So I think LDNU's draft I would prefer to play, and I think that's a much better style of draft. But then X7,
But you're not very good at playing the game, are you?
I am middling. I am gonna say middling at playing the game. I'm
Middling.
okay. I'm by no means exceptional or even really good.
I swear
Yeah.
half of our cast together turned into us memeing how our solo queue games go. or duo queue games go.
Badly, they go badly.
Badly, yeah.
They go badly. X7's draft is full of character here. These are characters we don't see often. They
Right.
may have more practice. LDNU will struggle slightly more against them by virtue of no practice. If they've played against Vladimir Lux and Scrims, great job, guys. I have no idea how you managed to pull that one together.
You're calling the surprise factor in here for X7.
Yeah, there's a serious surprise factor for X7. And there is also the qualification that most people had locked in their predictions before me. Not all. I do them a few days in advance after a quick review of previous games and solo queue accounts. And I also noticed that since all of my competition had already locked in X7, there is no way I can lose. So I'm slightly metagaming these
So
predictions.
essentially, what you're saying is you're pulling off the dirty Sarge tactic.
Potentially. A bit of
For those
metagaming.
of you who don't know, Sarge was one of our compatriots as a caster, and I was going to win a prediction tournament, but he saw my prediction, and then he used that to go for the other side that no one ever thought was going to win, but somehow they did win, so he beat me. Very unfairly, I will add. But it's all in the past, except for me, because I still bring it up all the time because it hurts me.
Your
Hurts me
assault
deeply.
is eternal.
My
As we
soul is
see-
eternal, exactly.
Icy Gale pulled off one of those standard trading patterns we see on Yone, so a little bit of damage towards him, but most of it shielded away, or regen's now back on the wave, and Raider sat there chugging potions to get half their health bar back. Turns out Anonymous did path bot lanes, not contesting the scuttle. With a lane position, it's unlikely Dunlosey gets into mid, so into top, sorry, so it might be a 2v2 around the mid lane. Anonymous pinging in, but he is on a ward.
There's a ward in the river brush, and it means that Kusei will know exactly that Anonymous is having a little think about the mid lane. But good ward so far from London United. It spotted Anonymous making his way into the bottom side river. Then it spotted Anonymous looking around that mid lane. So far, so good for the side of London United. But it's been a nice, chill start to the game. Not too much action happening as both sides just get a measure of each other.
They do get a measure. Remember, both teams are playing relatively for scaling. LDNU will look for this through lane advantages. X7 will look to this through compositional differentials, such as Vladimir being able to contribute hugely to a team fight, even if he can't stabilize his side lane, as you normally do when you play Vladimir. That deport from Anonymous will spot out Dunlosey here, and that level of pathing knowledge should enable X7 in these next 2 minutes to evade any ganks, really, as they should know Dunlosey will either do wolves or recall here, and they'll have his position within about 10 seconds of each other.
And this is interesting as well because Royal is pathing up as well towards the top side of the map. Dunlosey still hovering around mid, so this is going to be a 3v1 on the top side if they can pull off the engage smoothly.
This is a lot of help for Raider in lane. They will be looking to punish Icy Gale up on the wave, and it's gonna get messy fast. They are in and behind.
They are in and behind. Dunlosey is here as well. This is a 3v2 flash over the wall. The attract and repel locks Icy Gale down temporarily. Dunlosey pulls Royal under tower, flashes away, and
Mid laners
now
on the way.
Icy Gale and Dunlosey having a think about going in for the engage, but instead they back off as Kusei and Ketsuo slowly started making their way up towards the top side of the map.
Okay, while that was all going on, Sin did get a bit of solo time in the bottom lane. Tristana scales really well with levels. Her passive, of course, increasing her range as levels increase. So I'm not too sure. That is a huge disadvantage that Royal spent so much time out of lane.
Well, that flash is now burnt for Icy Gale as well, so maybe we can see the repeat gank from X7 towards the top side of the map. First Drake of the game is the Ocean. We'll see whether there is any looks towards the early Drake from either side.
Neither team probably willing to speedrun the dragon or put all their chips on the table. We did see a bit, like half a wave there, where Sin wasn't able to get onto a cannon, wasn't able to get some melee creeps. There's a Royal misting, so a slight advantage there for LDNU.
Now the engage is coming through. Royal's just burning down, and first blood going over to Blank.
I'm not really sure what happened there. That was all of a sudden just Blank and Niza clearly pulling it as it is and just being able to jump up onto Royal in this lane. That's really unfortunate for the X7 bot lane.
Well, Royal didn't have his flash available. We saw him using that on the top side of the map. So maybe he just tried to go in, missed the engage, and then Niza just locked him up, and Blank dropped down the damage. He does have that serrated Dirk already, and that lethality can really shred through Royal early on.
Yeah, reducing your base armor when there's not a lot of it. Easy way to kill an enemy. Also, we're still level 3, so probably a mark of disrespect there from X7's bot lane. Ooh.
Ethereal Chains connecting. There is the mimicked Ethereal Chains. The Kusei won't go all in. Neither mid laner taking Ignite. Not quite, you know, the solo queue aggression that we might see from a LeBlanc and a Lux. We've got the teleports, and both teleports have already been used.
Okay, so Ketsuo did miss the cannon, so intelligent trading from Kusei. Trading when your opponent has to CS and you do not. A good way to slowly generate a minion advantage. Those numbers may not tell the whole story for the gold in mid lane. We do have a bit of a lull state coming up, not a whole lot to do. I think either team committing to this Herald quickly may find themselves at risk of collapse. Kusei is scouting up on this top side and has some time off the wave. This is a good thing to do on LeBlanc and Akali, sort of those assassin champions who can wave clear quickly. Once you're off the wave and it's going to settle back into the middle and you don't need to base, you can spend some time grabbing some vision, jumping around, being in fog of war and being a general menace.
General nuisance. And Kusei having a little gander out of his lane, just seeing if there are any opportunities that may present themselves to him. Blank shoving in the wave on the bottom side, and now maybe he could roam up. We do have that Rift Herald. We haven't seen any lane swaps just yet, but we are tending to see Royal venturing rather far from home from time to time, but then again, Royal's on a horse, so you can kind of gallop around the map and then return. Just make sure you don't get dismounted. Otherwise, well, for anyone who's played Royal, you move very, very slowly.
Very slowly indeed. Raider going away. His wave is shoved into Icy Gale in the top, so we'll transfuse off the blue buff a little, regenerate some health. Icy Gale will see this one coming a mile away, so reasonably confident in his positioning.
Just going for the 1v2. I mean, he gets the knock-up. Snaps right on back to Soul that was bounded down. And for now, it's actually a 2k goalie that we've already seen picked up by London United, and that's just all through, well, the first blood from Blank, but also the tower plates have been picked up in the bottom lane.
Indeed. Blank and Niza up in there. Raider going a little low.
The ultimate's still available for Icy Gale, but playing things smart, he knows that the Hema Plague is still available for Raider. You have our second Drake of the game that will be spawning in just over 2 minutes time, but as you mentioned before, Temporal, this is a game that is all about scaling, and both sides, they're not risking it by throwing it all away with over-aggression early on. They're just waiting for the point where they can fight. So I want to talk about when are we going to be seeing those fights? What kind of items are we waiting for? What kind of level points are we waiting for? So I'm going to hold that thought because Icy Gale is going in onto Raider, but Anonymous is there. This is the Fate Sealed, and then just snaps right back to his soul.
A little bit of kill pressure now missing from Icy Gale in the top lane, but this isn't the end of the world for Yone. After burning teleport, it's clear LDNU not full committing to this next dragon. This early in advance, Niza will take a trip up into the top lane to defend, as Icy Gale has attracted a lot of attention from X7 roams this early on. Now, one thing you did mention is when will those fights start to matter. X7 are now more on a clock than they thought they would be, with the Cloud Dragon coming in second. That infers either an Infernal or Mountain Soul, both of those offering excellent scaling options for damage or resistances. That means that the Dragons mattered just a little bit more than they did a few minutes ago.
We'll see whether X7 can find any aggression. And right now, I'm just looking at some of the items that have been completed. Blank does have that Duskblade finish, where Sin just got the Quicksilver. Wait, Quicksilver? Noon Quiver. Noon Quiver completed at the moment. We'll see. Actually, can we check how much gold Sin has in the piggy bank. 1,200. Okay, so he's not too far away from picking up his first item, which I'm guessing will be the... I
Kraken
forget the
Sled.
name of it now.
Kraken
Kraken Sled.
Sled.
There we go.
Nearly suddenly. Oh, blank. That is cheeky. Kissing arrow to cancel the reset out of Sin means he has to stay or he will miss this kind of minion. That always feels really great when you upset your opponent's plans from such a long way away.
I mean, I do that sometimes as a support. I let myself die to cancel their resets, but they miss a whole wave, and you know, I'm a support. I'm not worth the gold.
I'm not sure it's quite worth the 300 gold you donate over, to be honest, Wilkie, but the passion,
Cannon minions.
the passion is worth
too
it.
Powerful.
There is a contest down here on the bottom scuttle. Kusei is engaged on Ketsuo in middle. Will eat the light binding on the way out, but that is a half a health bar for X7's mid laner as the dragon spawns. Raider's fallen!
Raider's fallen. Isigale's picked up the kill. He did that one under tower as well onto Raider. No teleport available, so he can't come down and help his team. As it will just be London United picking up the second Drake of the game. And in all honesty, right now, Temporal, this has been a very clean game from London United. They haven't made any mistakes. They're playing it slow, sure. There hasn't been aggression. They haven't made stuff happen. But they're just playing sensibly and clinically.
They are playing sensibly and clinically. I think it's a real boon for a team in the UKL. If you play good League of Legends down here, calm and controlled, it will offer you sort of a lot of advantages, sort of where other teams might be struggling, or like X7, they might just, it's a behind the tower difference.
Oh, Sin's smart. Sin knows it's coming. He's fully ready for it.
I'd have died under my tower, though, every time.
You would have died under your tower. You would have been the raider, right? You don't need 3 people to come and just gank a spanker you. They're just one. You're just losing the solo kill.
Shh, I do, but then I win in the 1v5 later. Anyway. This Tristana completely shoved off the wave here, and while Royal will pick up deep vision, there is not much of a worse situation for a Tristana than not farming, not gaining XP, and not progressing in the game. X7 have countered that bot lane play by rushing down this Rift Herald in the middle. It will get Ketsuo some gold and break open a mid T1. It's not the end of the world, but it will put more conditions on Kusei leaving lane there.
The first tower was already picked up by London United in the bottom lane, and that means that Blank and Nizer now move up a mid. Maybe try to open up the map even further for London United. And don't forget, this is a very important game for London United as well. They're sitting in the standings, 4 wins, 4 defeats. We talk about how they like the number 4. They usually finish at 4th in the standings. One of those 4s is going to come to a close, so either they get 5 wins or they get 5 losses. But if they lose this game against X7, they drop down that little bit further in the standings. And considering we just saw Lucendi win, and Munster win, we're currently at a stage in the split where the top team's on 5 wins and the bottom team's on 3 wins. There's not a lot of room for error. And if London United lose this game and then make one more slip up, all of a sudden they might lose that spot as Kusei goes in, finds a killer onto Sin, and now just looks for Royal Ethereal Chains, will lock the Rel down in place, and that is a double kill for Kusei.
There's a deep flank indeed from London United's mid laner, and X7's greedy positioning up on the wave punished. Isigale continuing to shove Raider into this tower. If we want to see X7 come back, we got to see some crispy team fights. We've got to see Lux binding setups. I've got to see something change soon, otherwise.
Onslaught of Shadows in. Nizer is here, so is Isigale. Isigale has the ultimate as well, not used. Ketsuo picks up the kill onto Dunlozy. Nizer knocks Anonymous away, and Blank is here to pick up the remnants of Raiders alive. But in goes Royal, looking to turn things around. Double knockup comes through. Blank picks up the kill onto Anonymous. Blank will fall himself as Ketsuo pulls one back for X7. And X7 aren't going to go down without a fight.
They pick up 3 kills, get themselves on the board. Ketsuo looking for the 4th, will find it. That is a creeping way back into the game. We sort of mentioned that a Lux setup there would be fantastic and would be a way for X7 to generate some money, try and get their carries some more items. And with Ketsuo split in the bot lane, London United, uncharacteristically so far this game, go a little too far, a little too much aggression.
They are still 3,000 gold up, but all of a sudden now, you start to see a glimmer of a win condition for X7. You start to see, oh look, Ketsuo's 3-0. Oh look, Ketsuo's just purchased a needlessly large rod, and it's giving an avenue for X7 to get back into a game that, as we mentioned, London United were playing very clinically and keeping all of those avenues closed.
It is the struggle here for X7 a little bit longer, and some level 11 ultimates coming through, and they managed to take a fight. Instead, London United now sort of have to think about what they're fighting for here. Like those ultimates and flashes burned on the top side are mostly recovered now for X7. They're only missing Ketsuo's flash and Sin's heal, truly. That matter for this next dragon fight, which will continue London United on the path to their Dragon Soul. With Kusei and Blank, someone is missing. Maybe X7 will still be advantage.
Chains that do connect. Can Kusei look for more?
Nope.
Run out. He's run out of spells. That's the issue with LeBlanc. You kind of run out of spells, and then you just got no damage.
It's part of why the Lux is picked. If you can chain on your shield, it sort of spends the same amount of time in the air as LeBlanc wants to combo, so you can start and then finish. Niza, Hex Flash.
Goes in onto Anonymous. Royal is here. That will just be the disengage. Kusei is hovering around. Good look to go in. Anonymous. That is a huge chunk of his health gone, but he's able to make his way out to safety as a London United look towards their third Drake of the game. And I think Anonymous and X7, they're just going to have to let this one go as, pop goes Kusei. And that loosened Singularity would have picked up the kill, but Kusei able to jump on out to safety as ICGL looking to go in, goes in with a Fate Seal. Blank is here as well. So much damage from the piercing arrow. Teleport coming through from a Raider looking to pick something up. ICGL flashing over the wall, and the focus will just go on towards Niza. Anonymous picking up the kill as Blank is able to just about secure the Drake. Raider going in with a Hemo Plague on to Niza as a Prismatic Barrier trying to buy some time. Blank with nowhere to go, and Raider picks up the shutdown on the London United AD carry.
3-0 is about the same value as that dragon, even if London United go to Soul Point. The sort of dangerous delay game both teams entered there, where a steal shouldn't have been possible, and then Kusei gets chunked out on the lower side at Tribush. But then Ketsuo's got no spells, but then Icy Gale goes a little too low and lets Raider in on a teleport. There's so many layers and conditions, both teams fighting tooth and nail for these objectives, as they know they will be so valuable in the late game. Ketsuo now with a 2,000 gold lead in the mid lane after that fight, continuing to be a rock for this X7 team that just have to try and stay stable a little longer. If it's a straight fight at this next dragon, it's going to look cataclysmic.
But look at that goal difference in the bottom lane. 6,000 for Sin to Blank's 8,500. And while there is a big discrepancy in the mid lane, there's also a big discrepancy in the bottom lane for Blank. So it kind of comes down to, well, you know, would you rather have a fed Lux or a fed Varus right now?
It depends how we can make it work. If the Lux continues to just find just enough opportunities to let X7 into these fights, find setups, deal loads of damage with this laser, and then deny Kusei the ability to blow up any carries, that's really valuable. If it isn't so valuable, I would favor a Varus that can pull off a decent 1v5. We're going to have to see if that pressure, the ability to play the team fight straight for Varus continues as Raider continues to scale. He's nowhere near that level 16 power spike yet, but a fully stacked Hemo Plague is a very scary late game prospect.
Talked about the scaling aspect for X7. As long as they can buy time, get towards that stage, ideally they want to deny London United from getting the Infernal Soul, as it will just kind of hinder their scaling just a little bit, or, you know, give some scaling over to London United, which makes the difference in how strong they are that little bit less impactful.
Kusei still going in this bottom lane. They do not have the Sorcerer's Potion just yet, so only takes the towers down quickly instead of at top speed. That is a tier 2 traded for a T1, so despite X7 placing so many players in the top lane, LDNU pretty happy with that trade and not really required to force anything else.
For now, just a small chill moment. The next objective that the teams will be likely fighting over is that Drake in 2 minutes time. Yes, Baron is up, but that is a 4th Drake of the game for London United. That is a potential Infernal Soul for them as well. As you can see, the vision for X7 being highlighted. A lot of vision around the top side of the map, not much around the bottom side just yet.
We have every entry onto this Baron covered, as UKEL will collect a little more money from that top lane T1. For both teams, I think so far, they've shown they're not willing to risk objectives or take risky fights. So you're probably right on missing out on Baron, while both teams should really, ideally, be both gunning for it, both aware that a loss there would mean a quick descent into the other team, picking up the objective and the Baron, and the Dragon rather. And then playing it forwards from there, and with both teams playing into scaling so harshly, that is completely fine, I believe. As we are now transferring their vision down into the bottom lane, both teams. Do not see full invasion from X7 yet. Niza takes a late base, won't quite be spotted. This is just on time. We want to see at least 35 seconds to get back into the pit. The staggering allows them to keep their vision up on the map. Kusei and Dunlozy waiting to see if anyone face checks here, as they are allowed to be off the wave. Blank will catch that in middle, despite X7's insistence that they can generate some pressure there.
Currently, we're 22 minutes into the game, 13 kills, both sides showing a lot of restraint so far in this game. We've seen a couple of spontaneous picks, UKEL getting a solo kill onto Raider, Blank and Niza picking up a solo kill onto Royal, and then aside from that, there have been around 2 team fights, or 2 or 3 team fights. Kills very even, but the gold is most certainly in favor of London United. 15 seconds until the Drake's up, and X7, they have control over the river. You can see London United don't really have much vision in the river at all. All that they have is that one ward right in the middle of your screen, and X7 are waiting. They're daring London United to step forward, and if they can catch someone with that light binding, surely that would be huge.
This is the collapse inwards from London United. They know X7 can't hold this choke and will have to step backwards. They continue. Kusei is off vision. He's done it again. He's got through the tri-bush. X7 have no idea where he is, and they are sweating currently, waiting for him to appear.
And Ketsuo, 403 on the Lux, 10 Dark Seal stacks. You know, Kusei wants to blow up Ketsuo as quickly as possible. The final spark has already been used. Magnet Storm comes in, picks up all 3. Kusei going into the back, and that's the Lux being a pop. And the ADC Blank is clean firing and cleaning up the side of X7. It will be the ace for nothing. And on top of that, X7 steal away the Infernal as well.
So X7 do get the dragon. They pay for it with 5. That will be LDNU running over and picking up a free Baron for their troubles. Kusei will crack the bottom inhibitor, no doubt, just in time to make use of that buff. A bit of a split setup from X7. They knew that Kusei was on the flank, and he broke the vision cone just in time to say, hey guys, I'm here, right behind you. As the dragon was started, it put a lot of conditions on X7, put them in a difficult position to act. And then when it came down to it, Kusei was able to be taken away from other LDNU members. And with that, like, the team fight was opened up. Props to Anonymous for getting in and onto the dragon just in time. Raider has teleported here.
They want to get onto Kusei.
There's a big bounty.
Real chains. Big bounty, as you mentioned. 400 bounty.
Ooh,
It's over on Sin. I don't know if that's who you wanted to go on, but that's the kind of gold that can bring this Tristana back into the game.
Yes, gold, money, Tristana, for sure.
Yes.
X7 desperate to claw more money onto either of their carries. Ketsuo has the main setup now for Lux, which is the new mythic, sort of improved mythic, maybe, shall we say, in this Ludens. And with that getting a buff recently and getting cheaper, Lux is, you know, ever present. So, this looks like a red buff here for UKEL, useful in the 1v1. And the Horizon focus for Lux. And that sort of matters more in that Lux prefers some percentage damage at this stage. No doubt she'll grab a Void Staff and maybe the Death Cap later to buff up those AP ratios, but 10% for free cannot be argued with.
Paul, I've got a question for you. I don't know if you like questions, but you're getting one anyway. So, in hindsight, what would have been a better situation for X7? Would it have been they win the fight, but they secure, or pardon me, they win the fight, but they lose the Infernal Soul over to London United, or the situation that occurred?
I think I prefer this one. I think the Infernal Dragon Soul would have been a real risk, and then rather than getting Baron off the map, LDNU may have committed more to lanes and left that Baron open, which would lead X7. Oh no, that was a crunchy piercing arrow. Sin taken to half. Will regen with the red buff, but that takes time as Icy Gale continues to push forwards. LDNU attacking on 3 fronts.
Going in, and Ketsuo goes Popper. X7 are here to avenge their mid laner, but London United are here for the fight. Ketsuo going in, Anonymous will pop, and Royal is just going to get slowly run down. London United get another headbutt, pulverize in. Raider, the ethereal chains connect. The ethereal chains will lock him down. Stalosi in, and X7 are wiped. London United don't need the Infernal Soul. London United pick up the ace. They will take the inhibitor, and there is nothing standing between them and the Nexus Towers. We talked about how this was an important game for London United, and they will secure their 5th win of the summer split.
With that, they tie up X7 and join the leading pack. London United, we've joked about 4th. We've joked about they need to escape this back of the peloton. Forget that. The UKEL is all within 2 wins of each other, and LDNU just joined the leading pack.
London United are back. X7, their struggles continue after what was a very strong start to the split. And Temporal, we talked about, for London, it was such a solid start to the game. They played everything clean. They didn't really allow X7 back in. X7 had that one good fight where the Lux ended up being 4-0 at the end of it. But aside from that, London United had everything under control.
It was cool, calm, and collected. I think even from draft, X7 pulled out some more unusual picks to try and answer what was being set up from LDNU. But with the Hecarim coming through as well, that was an LDNU comfort comp that looks front of meta right now. Hecarim is back in, not just because of the Sundra, but was stealth buffed twice, despite already being in great shape. And it just looked so good. I think LDNU should take a real pat on the back and look to continue that form instead of generating anything new. It's a real show up performance for them.
I'm sure London United will take a pat on the back. I'm also going to take a pat on the back because in my predictions, I predicted London United to take the win. And on that bombshell, we're going to be jumping into a short break. We'll be back momentarily with our 4th and final game of the day as Demise take on Knots.
Fighting shadows in their haunting eyes, smiting the wicked morrow when knowledge might when we face our final hour in the darkest rift. Come on, everybody, I'll be the death of you. After channeling our power, your end will be swift. Now there's nothing in my way. You feel my deathly grasp. Dashing minions, ravage fields of manifest my dominion to the chaos when we face our final hour in the darkest rift. Come on, everybody, I'll be the death of you. After channeling our power, your end will be swift. Now there's nothing in my way. You feel my deathly grasp. When we face our final hour in the darkest rift. Come on, everybody, I'll be the death of you. After channeling our power, your end will be swift. Now there's nothing in my way. You feel my deathly
No.
Temporal, yeah. This show's not starting until you sing.
I'm not singing tonight. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is game 4 of
Chat,
UKEL.
Twitch chat, can you help us out, please? Apparently, Temporal can sing something really well. So let us know in the chat if you want it to happen. How many do we need in the chat, Temporal, to get you to drop this on us?
I am not yet for sale. Maybe in the future.
No, this isn't sale. We're not paying you. You wish you're getting paid for this. Okay.
What was I going to say? I let the mistake of letting Milky know I'm going to see a musical this weekend, and I can sing the intro. But my most important game of the day is on game 4, and there is no time for music. There is only time for Demise versus Nox.
And I'm really glad that I'm able to cast this game, because when I was with Middlecott and we were doing the power rankings, the mid-season rankings, I said Demise and Nox are the 2 best teams in the league. Everyone seemed to be laughing at me. I don't know why, but we're here. Demise are taking on Nox. They're both currently tied at the top of the standings. And Nox, I'm just checking. No, Nox have a sub again, unless
Nope.
Gumayusi is Hades.
That is Miniclip, their new AD carry, who will be playing, I believe, for the foreseeable future. But if not, I believe they've come in off the bench. Yep, T1 Gumayusi, the account of Miniclip, the new AD carry for Nox. And this should be this Nox roster stabilizing now after having to use a few substitutes in the last week.
Yeah, so thankfully Nox finally have a stable roster and can look to work around this. One of the matchups that I do want to bring up, Endorser against Teddy in the top side of the map, because Endorser has been playing weak side a lot for Demise, whereas Teddy has been, I guess, somewhat one of their carry players for them. So are you just expecting Endorser to, go straight back into weak side, play something like the Scion or the Ornn again?
It's possible. I think it's going to be slightly more interesting to see what Teddy chooses to play, because Teddy tries to sort of play through his lane, like we saw ICGL in the last game, and take over. And also, like, a pretty big name top laner from the UKLC of last split, I believe it was on Enclave. And it'd be interesting to see how they're going to interact with each other. I've sort of written this one down in our notes as 2 titans of the UKL top lane, as alongside ICGL and Raider. They pick up 4 big carry players. And while Endorser can fall back on that weak side and then interact, it chooses normally to do so with champions like Mordekaiser, who sneak their way back into the game quite effectively with just a little bit of money, but are able to sit under their tower and absorb pressure and your opponents coming at them quite easily. I am most interested in how these bot lanes are going to interact. And I think you've got some thoughts, Milky Cereal.
See, I've got some thoughts, and I think they are unpopular thoughts. But then again, this was from back when Hades was on the team, because I personally thought Hades was overrated as an ADC for Nox.
You're wrong.
As I said, they're unpopular. Let me finish, Temple, right? You didn't sing. You're not allowed to cut me off, all right? So I didn't think Hades was as good as everyone was making him out to be, based off absolutely no evidence at all. No. I based it off literally one game where he lost lane against August. So there we go. And he was playing Varus into a scaling ADC, and he was playing Lethality Varus. But anyway, I personally think Terabyte and Techie are a very good bot lane duo. So when I was coming into this, I was thinking, okay, Terabyte and Techie, they want to carry, Vossen comes and helps them from time to time. We saw it when he played Orianna once, and there was so much action towards the bottom side of the map. And Endorser's going to be playing this weak side, and I kind of thought, okay, Arcane Teddy going to be the standout for Nox. But I don't know. Do you think it's going to work out this way? Because Nox do have a new ADC coming in. So how long do you think it will take for him to, get fully integrated in the team? And do Nox want to play around essentially a new player before they might be feeling fully comfortable?
So from what I know from knowing a few of the guys at Nox, I think they're pretty comfy. I think they're pretty ready. You did choose to rate Hades based on the game against maybe the best bot lane the UKL have seen.
Yeah, I know.
In years, in Atlas, mainly on Marksman, being a huge pop-off player. We miss him dearly, I think. And then, Hades was having a pretty good performance. But then I think based on previous games, Miniclip is looking pretty good. And this will be Techie Fiend and Terabyte sort of hoping to get more towards our expectations of being one of the best bot lanes in the leagues. I think they are. For whatever reason, it's not coming through every single game. And they've not looked sort of world-beating, which is what we're looking for from them, really. And instead, it's going to be on Miniclip and Divinius to keep up their strong performances so far in the league.
Well, we're heading on in to pick some bans. The Galio, Gwen, Silas taking away. One point that I do want to bring up, though, Temporal, is this mid lane matchup, because I have been impressed by Vossen. We talked about it, or I talked about it with Middlecott and the others in the ranking show, but we said that he's kind of been a little bit what's the term? Kind of going under the radar somewhat. But
Slept on.
Ruggers, he's been on the radar, and I don't think he's been performing fantastically well. Is this the game for him to get back into the thick of things?
Well, we won't be seeing the patented Ruggers Nocturne taken away on R3 as Nox respect all 3-side bans. I think Ruggers is doing okay. Both of these mid laners we sort of expected to see top end of the table. And they are both here. The table a little more compressed than I think everyone was expecting in this UKEL summer split. And that's okay. One of them will have to win here today. Let's talk in the game more about how they are doing that, because I think you've hit on an interesting point. Ruggers maybe not as hype as everyone thought there was, and Vossen going under the radar and really showing up in multiple games for Demise.
One particular game was Zorian. I think he had a really disgusting KDA, but we have some picks coming through. Volibear locked in already for Demise. That's presumably going to go to endorse in the top lane. Lee Sin and Karma picked up by the side of Nox, and those two can be flexed around.
Flex around indeed. Karma into support in the 2 lanes, Lisa in the jungle and the 2 lanes, so nice and open. Boston flashing a lot of show-up carries here. The Zed, the Yone, the Syndra. Instead will be the Aphelios locked, and that is a very archetypal bot lane setup here for Demise. They will look to get Terabyte and Techie into a place where between Thresh and Aphelios, so Aphelios' ability to play forwards through a team and dominate a team fight, and Thresh's repositioning tools and the ability to pick out an enemy carry with the death sentence will look to play through the game. And that is what I've written down in the notes. Fiora locked in here for Arcane Teddy.
You know that Arcane Teddy does like to pop off from time to time, and Fiora is one of those champions that he can most certainly do it on. Question is, do they put that Volibear in the jungle now, or do they say, okay, Endorser, how comfortable are you playing into Arcane Teddy's Fiora?
I think the Fiora is a gauntlet here. Volibear does okay, but not great, and now Demise really have to think about where they want to place that Volibear. I spent all of last night relearning Fiora in multiple elos to prepare for this game, and I am so happy Teddy is locked in. My findings last night indicate that the item path has branched open. You can do multiple setups in the early game, and they spike at different stages, so Teddy will have plenty of agency. We may see the new Hullbreaker. I believe it is enabled for these games, and it comes in at about it's in at about 20% of games for Fiora is my current understanding. So it will be whether Teddy wants to show up with the technology, or maybe using some of the other stuff I found last night. I don't want to give it all away in draft because we can sort of chat about it in the game. It'll be quite exciting. See Teddy's decision making open up in real time.
Well, I do want to go back to your points on that Fiora, but as you mentioned, it's probably best if we bring it up in game when we have our lull states. As I have a feeling Demise might be picking us up. Maybe a little proxy pick with the hover of a Teemo.
Ooh.
Maybe we'll be getting the Malphite. When we talk about weak side, well, Malphite might be a rock, but he's not exactly a strong side player. But into a Fiora, he should have a decent time.
So it depends. Malphite generally seen as the counter into Fiora, and that puts a lot of conditions on Fiora's gameplay. Some of the new item setups really favor Fiora in this matchup, and it is always going to be a skill check. Talking of skill check, are we going to see the Ruggers Garen? We've seen Yone locked in, and now Nox looking to fire back directly into Demise's line with this Garen.
Ruggers plays Garen mid?
Yeah, Ruggers. I think Ruggers plays Garen, but I'm pretty sure he does.
Why is this not on my notes?
It's from the dark side, Milky. You have to,
the dark side.
You have to
So
stalk
we've got the
people
Fiora dark tech. Now we might be getting the Garen mid dark tech for Ruggers. You know, we're talking about skill matchups. Oh, yeah,
okay.
Baby. That's a skill matchup.
Okay. All right, that does leave Karma, unfortunately, assigned into Yone, which is pretty rough for Karma. Better if she's in mid than in top. And with this Fiora locked in, I'm pretty confident. Oh, hang on. Ruggers is holding the Fiora.
Ruggers is holding the Fiora, but I'm a support player, and I'm also a play-by-play, which means I'm stupid. So there's very little time.
It means you like big cooldowns and exciting things, and there is nothing wrong with that.
No, no. Maybe. I don't know. What I was going to say is I can very rarely talk about stuff and actually sound like I have more than about 50 IQ. So I'm going to use it as an opportunity because I'm going to explain why Blitzcrank is a soft counter into Thresh.
Nice.
So here's what happens here. Right? Okay, Tempora's just going to call me an idiot in about...
No, I'm going to nod along.
So-
I'm going to enjoy this.
Okay, so what happens is Thresh is walking around. He's like, dude, right, I'm gonna go and try to hook this Ezreal. He presses Q, but his Q takes a really long time to fire. So what the Blitzcrank does is, ha ha ha, I can throw out my Q much quicker than you. So while Thresh is doing all of his wind up, it's like, imagine a boxing match, right? There's one boxer, he's like winding up his arm to throw the punch, and Blitzcrank is a boxer, and he just throws that at his fist and punches the Thresh. But instead of punching, he drags him back to his team, and then they kill the Thresh.
That is fantastic into current era Thresh
Thank you.
in a year where support items grant less and less gold. We see supports like the Thresh that previously got as tanky as, you know, a jungler, say, and then brought that utility. Especially your Nautiluses and your Threshes now rely on that aftershock only, and once that's gone, they do tend to fall apart very quickly. So that means the utility they offer the team really has to be worth it. Otherwise, you should have picked a real tank. And Blitzcrank are great at opening that up, especially if Thresh wants to position aggressively in lane, set up for ganks, sort of be that threat. Blitzcrank really puts a damper down on that, and yeah, it's useful here in this bottom lane.
And sometimes you even see the Threshers building Guardian, although I don't think it's as common, but sometimes it does happen from time to time. Okay, we have the Karma locked in. Ruggers is going to be playing the Karma. It is Fiora on the top lane, and you briefly mentioned about the Yone Karma matchup. So why don't you jump on into it with a bit more detail?
So this is similar to what we saw with Yone Vladimir. The Karma sort of positions up and away from the wave, and then Yone gets to choose what he wants to do. It's not quite as open as the Vladimir lane, but it is pretty open, where the Karma sort of struggles. She can dump the wave in, but then Yone gets a lot of control, gets to choose how powerful it shoves back to Karma, or if at all. And his sort of healing options through this lane really do help. It's not as bad as this same matchup in top, where it is longer, more room for Yone to open up on the Karma, but it's still not fantastic. This can be answered by some attention from Godto's Lee Sin. We've sort of glossed over this. Godto, another player who has performed pretty well so far this split. We haven't seen them break away as a sort of clear top of pack, but looking to prove themselves on a skill expressive champion with a very active top side of the map, and of course a Blitzcrank. So really excited to see what Godto is going to come out with this game.
Now, the final point that I do want to bring up before we head into game. Jungle matchup. Crisis into Godta, Volibear into Lee Sin, where we are expecting our junglers to be going early on.
So Crisis has got his work cut out for him on this Volibear. He can go literally anywhere, and the decision-making tree is mostly reliant on his opponent. So I would like to see Demise try and find out what Nox are planning here, where they are sending their Lee Sin, because again, we mentioned the Lee Sin can have a lot of options nearly no matter what's going on. Volibear has to stop Fiora getting 400 free gold early on with a quick visit from Crisis. That's a realistic option, but also has to maybe suppress Vossen. Now we're doing like topside options here. Can also go bot in a lane where Techie will be up in the wave, and Divinus can look to punish. There's so many different options and conditions here. Skill expression is definitely the name of the game.
Skill expression. We head into the game then. 5-point start from both teams. No invade shenanigans this time round from two of the teams that are tied at the top of the standings with 5 points. X7 were the other team. They took a loss to London United in our third game of the day. And this is effectively a battle between Nox and Demise for who will have the top spot heading into week 6. Or week 5, day 2, I should say.
Yeah, towards week 6, towards the end of the split. We're running out of time, and the table just gets closer and closer.
Oh, Temporal, that reminds me. In this game's edition of whose prediction do you want to go with? You went with Nox to take this win. I went with
did.
Demise on our sheet.
So
You have seen the drafts.
yeah,
when
I
you
have
said-
seen the draft. It's I'm still Nox favored slightly. I think
Okay.
this comes with two heavy conditions. Number one, if Miniclip really struggles on this Ezreal, we're going to start running out of things for Nox to do and waves to clear. It's going to look a little bit unusual, whereby if Gumayusi struggles, Terabyte's going to have a pretty easy time playing through these fights. Fiora and the other members of Nox really have to get up close and personal, which is kind of what Aphelios really enjoys into a composition like this.
Yep.
Wants to tear them apart one by one. If Gumayusi isn't able to be a sufficient threat, there is no Malphite ultimate to find them. Instead, Demise have picked up those sorts of tools to play through Nox's frontline. It also comes with the caveat that I'm going to be happy no matter who wins these games. I'm excited to see some of the cleanest League of Legends and exciting play towards playoffs, where this is probably going to be a best of 3 matchup. If not, potentially the final that we weren't expecting. And it's so exciting to see the season come towards a pinnacle.
Well, sadly, we won't be getting a best of 3 for this one. Just a
Oh, I
standard
love
old.
it. I love
BO1.
it.
Wait,
It's a fake
Okay.
leash. It's a fake leash. You
know.
burn mana and health, and on the other side, you would ideally also burn mana and health from the Malphite. It's not quite possible, and also you shouldn't let Fiora up on the wave level 1 alone. This masks Crisis's start even further, and hopefully gives Demise an extra edge in the next few minutes.
Crisis with the Dark Shroud around him. But might have to wait before he can get an insight as to where Crisis started. And I do need to apologize to Crisis because I believe before I was calling him Crisis, and he did mention that, so I do apologize. He says he doesn't mind, but I do mind. As Divinus, flashing forward, lands the hook. The play comes through Gumayusi, throwing out the Mystic shots. Teki forced to flash away. Water comes through, one more Mystic shot. Would it have been enough? Teki can't really step forward, and it's just a 1v1 between the ADCs. Divinus not wanting to go in any further. That will be all that she wrote in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so we spoke of Blitzcrank's efficacy in breaking open a fight, but in truth, in the 2v2, with so few cooldowns that aren't a rocket grab and it dealing, not tons of damage, we do have to be aware the Blitzcrank has to have breaks in between his incredible aggression and ability to move people around. Instead, we do have to respect that sometimes he's a bit of a cannon minion and doesn't really offer a lot. So, fantastic work to peel back there and not continue a 2v2 that could have gone sour. Crisis has finished their jungle, and this will be a clash here at the Scuttle Crab.
Oh, that's a good death sentence that comes through into a 2-man play. But Teki's just going to get run down. First blood picked up by Divinus. And Teki biting off more than he can chew.
Definitely. You mentioned, that supports work differently now, especially when it comes to money. And once the aftershock goes, Teki unfortunately falls with it. 2v2 set up in middle now. Crisis is in the open. Godtour maybe still hidden. Will manage to push the wave in. And then Godtour, they're looking. This is a bit dicey. Godtour's a level down.
Heard of the bro lane? Have you heard of the mid-jungle bro lane? Because it has come through as they both path their way up towards the top side, towards the Scuttle Crab. We might be getting a 3v3 because Endorse and Arcane Teddy are coming down as well. Gotta somewhat low as the Focus Resolve will lock it down at Crisis for a moment. Now the Scuttle Crab looks to be going to the side of Nox as the Mice are forced out of the jungle. But, oh, that was a smite that got used by Godta. Does Crisis want to go in? Can he get in range? No, he can't. And it
The
will
early
be the
smite
handshake
from
of Scuttle Crabs.
The early smite from Godtour breaking the shield, increasing his speed a little so Crisis can't force his way back into the river. Fantastic patience from Nox. They started that fight on the crab while Teddy was shoved in and not able to respond. Communicating it effectively, Teddy not sacrificing too much on the wave, just managing to get down there in time. Really close gameplay limits here. This is what we like to see from teams on form.
1k gold advantage to Nox. Chris is making his way up towards the top side. Endorser is low. There's a teleport, and that means Chris is just going to have to back away. There's a huge wave that's about to crash towards Endorser. Could we potentially see the tower dive? While all of this has been happening, it just means that in the mid lane, Vossen could potentially shove, but Gotter is here just to keep the wave in an ideal state for Rebels.
think trading the teleport for removing the gank completely fine here. The Fiora has to generate advantage if they want to be a presence later on. Got 2 matches in mid, so no advantages found for Demise. They do get the teleport out, but it's the teleport on a Karma that would probably have only used it to generate a little more money for themselves. Better to deny it away from Demise here.
I do want to bring up as well, Divinus has gone for the Swifty boots. What do you make of that over the Mobies? Okay,
Yes.
Temporal Light.
I think it's great. This Blitzcrank is going to have a lot to do with Aphelios later. Taking a single auto attack and turning off your move speed, not effective against this Demise composition. So instead will be a consistent speedy presence instead of an up and down question mark in this game. I like it a lot. I think grabbing these first on the Blitzcrank, and even in a Blitzcrank's lane, we'll notice Terabyte has also managed to pick up boots, is a good way for these players to try and be as effective as possible. Because if you're just a little too slow to sidestep a hook, sometimes it's going to cost you a lot more than 1100 gold.
Arcane shift forward, give me UC. Being a little bit aggressive. First Drake of the game is up. We're already seeing a Divinus roaming his way up. I'll get spotted by a wood, but he just destroys it and establishes more river control for Noxus. Endorser has pushed this wave in. Arcane Teddy is level 6, Endorser still level 5. And he does hit 6, and with that riposte down, Arcane Teddy does have to be careful.
Just have to be careful. Teddy is taking a bit of chip damage here, should be aware. But will likely be just fine. The Bramble Vest, it does stop Fiora taking over this lane. And does help the Malphite go that bit further. As Fiora doesn't tend to do a lot of damage with each hit, so dealing a little bit of damage back to yourself, not the greatest. Crisis will find Teddy here.
Yeah, and Arcane Teddy might just go pop, uses the riposte to buy some time, gets the stun down under tower. Ultima in for Crisis, looking for the kill, and he bites his way to it.
That Sheen coming in clutch there for Crisis. Without that damage, would have just fallen short. I thought it was on a knife's edge. As it was, Nox will get the dragon for that extension. Crisis burns all their summoners, but that is a wave Teddy loses, and probably a teleport forced.
And that's pretty big as well. Teddy forced to teleport back into lane. However, Nox are able to secure that first Drake. Just 400 gold between the two sides, which is practically nothing this early on into a game. Arcane Teddy slowly building up a CS lead over Endorser.
May not truly continue for much longer. Teddy has gone for that cull and will look to be an economic threat into Vossen in the later game. Will likely be assigned against the Yone in a side lane with both looking to teleport in. Unlikely Endorser continues to be matched, as either the Malphite will be able to push out the Fiora and then Fiora won't be able to teleport. Nox probably looking to evade that one, or instead completely the other way, where Fiora wants to just try and put some pressure on this Yone, where Karma won't be able to.
So Temporal, I want to dive into what you were talking about before the game, when we were in draft, because you were talking about Dark Tech for the Fiora and the fact that you had tried it in multiple elos. So I'm kind of curious, how did you test it in multiple elos?
Because I have a million accounts, but Divinus is going.
A flash coming in, Moonlight Vigil comes through, it's a 3-man Gravitum, and the hook will not connect. Uteki and Terabyte want more. There's a teleport coming in, Endorser is here, Yone making his way down as well. Got to the focus, Flay comes in, that's the knockup. Fate sealed in from Vossen. Divinus, where can he go? He's just going to get run down. Techie picking up the kill, and it will be 2 quick kills for Demise. Ruggers picks up the kill on Endorser. That happened towards the top side of the map, I think.
Top side of this fight, for sure.
Top side of the fight.
Endorser goes a little bit low. Meanwhile, so while we have to consider that's a 2-for-1 and it slightly favors Demise, Teddy continues to free farm, managed to pick up a plate, and you'll notice we mentioned a small gold lead. There is now no gold lead. So effectively, 1 kill and a bit of CS going over to Demise. Not the huge blowout fight it seems to be. You'll also notice Miniclip is still holding all of their summoner spells with 2 minutes on a dragon. We won't see many of those returning for Demise. So the game's still all to play for.
And surprisingly, if we can actually just show the gold once again, because there is an interesting point that I want to bring up in the top lane, which is Arcane Teddy. He's only a couple of 100 gold ahead of Endorse, and that's despite him having a 20 CS advantage.
Yep, that is half of the plate we've just seen, or rather, the plate we've just seen is half of that. Both top laners picking up some of that gold, but Teddy grabbing another one in the last fight. It would be greater if Endorser had managed to get an assist onto Teddy for that early death, but that was only secured by Crisis going so deep. It was not truly possible. We'll see Nox pick up the Herald here. This is quite important for them. They need to continue feeding gold onto their carries, as later on this Karma will become utility. The Blitzcrank not offering a lot himself. Lee Sin falling off a cliff as scaling goes when the game continues forwards. A lot of pressure on this Ezreal on Miniclip to perform in this game. If they are not able to keep up with the threat Terabyte brings in this teamfight controlling Aphelios, it will look a little rough later on.
Gota has passed towards the top side now, just catching away for Arcane Teddy. He has that Rift Herald, and surely for the side of Nox, they want to be putting more and more gold into Arcane Teddy, or do they look to put it into Miniclips, Ezreal?
So you're not wrong with dropping the Herald in top for economic reasons. I would prefer to see it for dragon reasons. We have 1 minute until that dragon is coming through. TPs are available for both mid laners, but neither top laners. Oh, Gumayushi falls.
Well, that's Miniclip down a kill. Going over to Terabyte, playing a little bit too aggressive. He burned his shield, he burned his flash. And I'm guessing the Arcane Shift as well, but I'm going to presume that Techie landed a very good death sentence.
I would like to believe. Divinus just
better than that rocket grab.
Using his grab to secure a minion, why not? Always sounds really funny. That will be a huge advantage for Demise onto this dragon now. The Ezreal not able to manage the wave in bottom, so full access to this river for Demise. That's not really what Nox were looking for here. The Ezreal is picked to stabilize that bottom lane and to be a safe threat, but a threat all the same. It's not so safe if you fall down in lane.
Golta looking towards the top side of the map. He still has that Rift Herald. 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Drop it
till the tower plates do fall. Oh, he's looking to go in behind. He has been spotted out as Temporal whispers in my ear, like from Lord of the Rings. But in comes the Engager, Fate sealed, and Divinus' fate is sealed. Trying to roam up, trying to get some vision down. He will pay for it with his life. Everything is just going the way of Nox. They've got the first tower. Well, I say it's all going the way of Nox. They get a tower on the top side, but they drop a kill in the bottom river, and they will be dropping the Drake as well.
I think Malphite especially won't be minding a Cloud Dragon. They do get 2 charges out of the Herald, and from an economic standpoint, Teddy very happy to receive more gold and attention in that top lane, but this threat in Terabyte's Aphelios getting greater and greater. It will be the question how that transfers on into the later game. Terabyte having the time of his life in this bottom lane. Again, not sure how the gold matches up there, but Miniclip struggling.
This game has turned out into exactly what we expected, which is Demise playing around the bottom side of the map and Nox playing around Arcane Teddy in the top side of the map.
I was expecting it to be more neutral, but yeah, it's definitely split that way now. A really heavy split for strong sides.
Don't tell them that, otherwise they'll think I'm the color caster.
You're getting it right, my friend.
Yeah.
800 gold both ways. So Teddy for Nox in the top lane with that much of a lead, and Terabyte in bottom with that much of a gold lead. All the same, Endorser is engaged upon.
Also is, he'll use the Unstoppable Force to try to run out to safety, but he's going to run it towards Gota, who will be dropping the Ward Hop in. There's a Lantern, and Gota is able to follow all the way. The Flay comes in, Soul Flare out, there's Teleport coming down to the tower. Techie flashes out of the inner flare. Gota, that's a little bit too aggressive, as Vossen looks to turn things around, but Gota has movement speed to run out to safety, and somehow there are no deaths in the topside fight.
Plenty of action, though. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Crisis paying more and more attention. Tried to find Techie lurking in the bush there. Try and break something open under the tower, but it won't happen. And this Blitzcrank continues to just leave us all on the edge of our seats. At least in the case of we don't know when anything is getting fired. a little bit of a lull state now. So maybe we could review those items.
Well, I was actually going to go. You mentioned, that dark tech point. How have you, investigated this? Because, you're a scientist like me. So what was your scientific approach to understanding the dark tech within multiple different elos, as you so put it?
So the multiple different elos is me, because I don't trust myself to first time something in ranked, which I think is the better way to be honest.
Yeah.
So I reviewed a bunch of Masters and GM games on the Fiora, found that people are overbuilding the Hull Breaker, but it is still a reasonably strong option where certain setups are required. I don't think this is one of the games for it, unfortunately. Malphite demands more 1v1 presence, and if Teddy is not taking out Terabyte, you have to find another way to reach this Aphelios. So I suspect that is why Teddy has chosen the Stride Breaker instead of the Gore Drinker you would expect into a tank this game. And then is probably going to go into the Hydra. This allows Fiora most agency in the side lane while maintaining that 1v1 presence. Death Sentence is found, but Divinus holds his cool, won't fire back with the rocket grab. Both teams not eager to lose any sort of standing onto this spawning Herald, and instead want to check their side lanes before going any further.
Techie's good at landing that death sentence, but he's learned from the previous bot laning game. Just because I landed a death sentence on Thresh does not mean that I have to take the path of no return.
Indeed. No Lee Syndrome here tonight. That would be really nice. We're seeing a little bit of the power of the Ezreal here with that Arcane Shift up, is able to stand up on the wave, even where it looks quite dangerous. Both teams feeling each other out. We shouldn't take this as an NA ram, as both teams just trying to force middle. Both teams are trying to hold their standing here on the Herald, and are both aware that a single failure will look like that.
They try to go in onto Terabyte with the insect play, flash away. Demise don't look for the turnaround. Instead, they will just path their way up towards the Rift Herald. They want to secure this, and well, you talk about economy temporal. There's a Drake up in 50 seconds, so you could assume that this Rift Herald will be dropped pretty shortly and allow Demise to search for their second Drake of the game.
I hope so. I hope so. It would be the best time to use it. And Crisis has just come online with that Sundra and a stopwatch. I hope we get to see some Zhonya's Volibear. It is so ridiculous to watch golden polar bears that jump around the rift. Nox taking some delayed bases. This is going to be pretty close if they want to run in and contest, but Blitzcrank is the sort of champion to do so.
My favorite character that uses stopwatch. I know, very, very random turn going on.
That's okay, let's
You
do it.
mentioned golden volley bears, but it's actually Gragas, because he has a really weird animation where it looks like he literally looks like he's just a big cannon, and it's kind of crazy. So I like it.
That's pretty cool. All right, that Herald will hold Nox in mid for a moment longer. Vossen from very, very far away. Just making it go that little extra bit further. That will be Nox onto the dragon. We'll get this one pretty cleanly. Teddy is here to contest the death
Really good death
sentence.
sentence onto Teddy. He's going to use the riposte, but he's just going to get banged around. And Boston picks up the kill. Teddy, well, he ends up face checking into a death sentence.
That is a huge advantage for Demise here. They pick up the member of Nox who's meant to be the threat here at this stage in the game. And although they may not be able to transfer it into a lead somewhere else, that is Nox not able to really contest any vision or do anything for the next few minutes now other than clear the waves. Huge props to Rugger so far, actually staying safe on this Karma, staying up in farm with Vossen. While Vossen has found advantages elsewhere, Rugger's holding his own in a reasonably difficult lane.
But Vossen now has that first item, and it all starts to get a little bit tricky against the Yone once that Yone hits the 2 items. And Vossen has spotted out Ruggers. Has Temporal drop the old Cast the Curse Serenos.
I think so, unfortunately.
Ruggers is fine. He's alright.
He's fine. He's still alive. That minion wave will reach the tower. And all will be well eventually.
Well, for now, 6 kills to 2. A 1,000 gold lead to the side of Demise. And you can tell, can't you, Temporal, that this game is going to explode in a few minutes time. But for now, both teams just scaling up. Terabyte, well, early on with the Aphelios, not the strongest of characters. Maybe once he gets a few items, he'll be ready to join in the team fights. First item also picked up for Endorser as well.
Endorser looking a little more unkillable as each minute passes. No flash here for Terabyte.
There is no flash. There's a teleport coming in. Somehow the rocket grab misses, but the true shot barrage is true to its mark in Demise. Look to turn the fight around. The box has been dropped. Boston running out with the Fate Seal, now looking towards a Godta, as in the thick of things. That's a play onto Arcane Teddy under tower. Godta will take another tower shot, somehow surviving by the skin of his teeth. And it is just a 1-for-1 in the mid lane. But that explosion, that aggression, we're starting to see unfold, Temporal.
Huge props for, oh gosh, I'm even struggling to remember. Godta took away Terabyte's flash with that deep play in the mid lane, and even though it didn't work out, they didn't generate advantage, they get the flash away, and before it returns, they know they have to find the fight onto Terabyte's Aphelios here. Huge props to Miniclip in that fight, stayed at perfect safe range and was able to mitigate all of the members of Demise who wanted to dance towards him, try and find him. Looked so tanky and put out so much damage. This Ezreal with the Divine Sunder providing so much for Nox in that last fight.
Rugger's 2 items as well. He's got the Chemtech Putrefier, and that's going to be helping so much against the lifesteal from Vossen, from Terabyte, with those Mortal Shield Bows. As the back is cancelled, Endorser. He's just going to be duking it out with Arcane Teddy. There shouldn't be too much spice here just yet.
There were some pretty serious mind games going on there for a second, and I don't know if Endorser like 5-headed himself, because if that back was cancelled, and
we've got an engage happening in the mid lane, and the Lantern has been dropped. Terabyte's going to be able to stay alive. The Moonlight Vigil is dropped. Divinus will fall. The Minikillip will Arcane shift out to safety, but it's just the one kill going the way of Demise.
Brutal engage for sure. We mentioned these supports. When their Aftershock is gone, they are not necessarily tanky. And unfortunately, when your Aphelios has got 2 items and is ready to let loose, or let it rip if we're going with all the Beyblade references, why not? Looks a little fragile, and Godta finds him again.
He does. The Lantern is dropped. Does Terabyte want to take it? He decides against it as Crisis makes his way down. Death Sentence will land onto Godta. The Sky Splitter is dropped. The Demise won't go all in. Endorser is making his way up as well. For now, Demise hold on to the trigger.
Hold on to the trigger. They will push this mid wave in, even with Ruggers present. That means they will move into the river first here, checking on this Ocean Dragon. Both teams with some of, or 1 to 2 rather, in favor of Demise. That means we're going to see a very delayed soul here. Expect to see this game go later and later.
Oh,
this has been found.
Techie, how do you land that death sentence onto the Blitzcrank as we look towards the top side? But Divinus has been taken down, and Techie has been smurfing with some of these death sentences recently.
It was almost as if Divinus's last minute decision to Duke right, unfortunately, ended him up in Techie's grasp, and with the Blitzcrank falling down, that will be advantage here for Demise. Oh, Techie nearly finds it again, but Nox not able to move into the river. They will choose a tier 2 tower, so they're not even falling that far behind. Every trade taken slightly, only slightly in favor of either team. No blowout wins just yet. Nox's top laner continues to push forward.
Okay, so Teddy, he's got 2 items. He's 0-2. He hasn't been able to get any kills. He's just been playing side lane. At what point should Demise start to be scared of Teddy? Or have we already hit that point?
I'm not sure which point that is. My internet just turned off and on again. So, welcome back, me. It's nice to be here.
Welcome back, Temporal. Long time no see.
Long time no see. I hope the point was a good one. Do you want to tell me again?
Nah.
Ooh, mid T1 went down. That's pretty decent here. Ezreal does enjoy his expeditions into opposing junglers, and every bit of vision missing from the map, including that tier 1 tower, helps Divinus just a little bit more.
So, the point that I was making, Temporal, was... Is Arcane Teddy at a stage... Sorry, I had to remember my point for a second.
That's
is Arcane Teddy at a stage where Demise need to be scared of him, or do we need to wait a little bit longer for that?
Seeing as Miniclip offered so much pressure in that last fight, we do have to be aware that a Nox team that you mainly break by letting them only have 1 threat and then denying it with the Thresh, denying it with the Volibear, is now multiple threats, and that Fiora cannot be ignored, because if you allow her onto the Aphelios for a long period of time, Ezreal will find a way to follow up, and that will be enough. Take out pretty much anyone at this stage. Endorser is starting to look invincible, but you're not normally worried about killing Malphite unless it's before the Unstoppable Force has been used.
Well, there is darkness surrounding the Baron. For Demise, they can't see a single thing. I mentioned that it is summertime, and you know we need to turn the lights off because we've got that much light already, but it is almost 9 o'clock, or pardon me, almost 10 o'clock as Divinus has been locked down. There's a teleport coming in. Good play. Gotta trying to go in. He's able to land the insect onto Terabit, but I don't think that's actually going to be helping out Nox one bit. It just means that Terabite can trade onto Divinus better, and it's another pickup for Demise. 1-0. True Shot Barrage clips Crisis. That means that Crisis might have to back before he can look towards a potential Baron, and that True Shot Barrage might have just delayed the game that little bit longer for Nox.
Miniclip is absolutely showing up so far. Mystic shots landed onto Voss and onto Terabyte, and makes them think twice when like a fifth of their health goes missing. Maybe when they didn't realize it, just at a max range. And Miniclip's Ezreal is really holding together Nox right now, where these fights haven't quite gone their way, when they've burned summoners but not been able to execute on the rest of it, and that leaves Demise in the driver's seat. Miniclip has been a steadying force and is really the mark of a good Ezreal. To not always win in a flashy style, but win frequently with a stabilizing one.
10 kills to 3, and there is only, well, there is less than 1,000 gold between the two teams. That's how close this game is. That's how measured this game has been. You kind of came into these two series, X7 against London United, Demise against Nox, expecting the explosive games, but it has been the measured, the calm, collected games so far. And sometimes you need those sprinkled around, because it does mean that we do tend to get the explosive team fights paired along with it.
Eventually. I think it's a mark of all teams improving their game slightly, their communication slightly, as they are better able to execute on what they want and understand what their opponents want. Makes for better League of Legends. I think this is currently peak UKEL. We are seeing fantastic gameplay from both sides, taking this very seriously.
Are you saying that I can drop? This is what peak UKEL looks like, and it comes from Demise.
I'm setting you up for later.
Oh, I love it, Temporal. Thank you.
And it might come from Nox as well. It's so good to see two teams at the top of the standings. Like, they both want this head-to-head tiebreaker to be favored for them, as the tiebreaker below head-to-head is most recent game, with both teams hopefully challenging for that top spot. Any breakaway, any win here against a member of that same group is oh so valuable.
And I'm just checking. Last time Demise faced Nox, Nox took the win. So Demise, well, as you mentioned, whoever wins this game has a tiebreaker in their favor. If Demise win, it is tied 1-1, but Demise have the most recent win. If Demise lose, then Nox have a 2-0 in their head-to-head. So a very important game to decide really the team that could be at the top of the standings from a few weeks' time. And there is, as you mentioned, Miniclip firing out those Mystic shots, chipping away at the health bar of Demise. Arcane Teddy has been caught out, and while this is all going on, it's going to mean that the side of Nox turn towards the Drake straight away. What do Demise do? They can't look towards the Baron. They're going to rush down and try to contest. While all of this is going on, Endorser is in the top lane. The Drake is already down to 1,000 HP. There will be no steal. Cleanly done by Nox.
Masterful macro play from Nox. They play the bottom pocket of mid lane. They clear the vision so that Divinus has to be respected, and Demise don't feel like coming up. They don't feel like forcing a Yone vision check and burning cooldowns to get in there. And then when they try and trade for the Baron, Nox notice they are slightly split in their approach, and Teddy heads off Crisis. A complete removal of Demise's options. Now, with Ruggers on the bot side, Demise have said, hang on, we need to do something here. We need to check this Baron
going in
immediately.
From behind. He's trying to get a quick trade off. The teleport comes through. Disengage via the Dark Passage from Techie.
It's all a bait, unfortunately. Not able to finish out the Baron.
You were talking about this before, Temporal. The fact that whenever Demise were gaining objectives somewhere, Nox were able to find something somewhere else, and it was usually at the hands of Arcane Teddy splitting in a side lane picking up a tower. That was the first time this game, I feel, that one team has picked up an objective without any consequences whatsoever.
I mean, it did cost Teddy's position in the side wave. Call that a micro objective if you wish. We are getting more specific though as the game goes on. And with that
Okay,
CS
I'm not
lead,
talking
yeah.
about they lost like 2 CS.
No, it's more than 2 CS. It's the pressure to bring
3?
someone else top lane.
Okay.
It's more of a concept than the actual gains and losses. You tend to find as you get like tighter and tighter on these interactions, Miniclip will be found here. He's arcane shifted.
He has, and that might mean that he gets spotted out, but Vossen, well, he can't jump back in. That's going to be the power or the hook coming through. Flay onto Arcane Teddy, slowed down as a Crisis smashes down. The Fate Seal comes in, the shutdown onto the Fiora under tower. Gotta's going to be the next focus as Terabit is throwing out the Chakrams. Two-shot barrage is fairly big, and it chunks down the members of Demise. Knock up, not quite there. Miniclip stepping forward, not going to be able to land the Mystic Shot. Now the potential turnaround for Demise, but it will not come through. And again, Demise get a kill. And once again, it is just one kill. Every single time there's a fight, it always seems to be just one kill, Temple. It is such a game of fine margins.
Fine margins indeed. Both teams boxing with each other gently. Vossen will be picked.
Will be, he goes golden in the Baron pit. It's a 3v5 situation. Boston is so low, he will eventually fall down to the Baron. This is making it a 4v4 because Gotta is here as well. Demise are forced away. The Mystic Shot is so big, and the Baron spits at Crisis. Terabyte firing out the bullets, but it's not going to be enough. No, never mind. Miniclip will fall. There's a battle happening right at the Baron. Crisis wants to be able to find the seal, not going to be able to find it, and Gotta will smite the Baron down for Nox and secure it for Nox. Arcane Teddy leaping forward, trying to find something on it to endorse, who he is forced to use the Unstoppable Force out to safety as the Grand Challenge was issued.
This is what great League of Legends looks like. Wow, I spoiled that, didn't I? Both teams trying their hardest, not able to give any quarter. And I think I've lagged there.
Oh no.
Oh no, you can still hear me. That's a great time.
I can hear you. But you might
I can't see what's going on, but let's
okay,
wax
you
lyrical.
can't see what's going on. So Nox just won the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's over. Temporal actually took the bait. I'm going to take that. I have bamboozled my color caster. However, okay, I do have something interesting I want to bring up, which is the fact that of the 6 kills Nox have, 4 of them are on Ruggers, and I don't think Nox want their kills on the Karma. I think they'd want it on Arcane Teddy, or speaking of Arcanes, the Arcane Shiftman himself, Ezreal, as I think Temporal's internet issues have dropped further. Well, I guess this is, revenge after I left Nymera to, well, Middlecott, which, to be honest, is a fate that no one should have to endure. Sorry.
Would you say it's the middle of the road? Okay, I'm back. You baited me by saying Nox won, and then my internet turned off, so I thought it might have
Your
happened.
internet didn't like it.
No, it's a no. We will play the game. Yes, both teams are positioning around this dragon now, and Endorser still matching Teddy in the top lane. Won't be able to stay under this tower forever, but will manage to get a chunk of it at a time. Boston coming forwards.
Boston coming forward, will snap back, safety. And Boston has to be careful. He thinks he's got the strength to take these 1v2s, but it chips him down so low. And then he just can't fight in the following fights.
It is a dangerous part of Yone's kit. That much access comes at a cost. If he's not able to truly fight his opponents, the sustain isn't there, and he's trading with his health bar as well as his resources. That's ideally why Yone can exist as a manaless champion. You have to be so careful where you can actually use that ability to jump forwards and challenge your opponents. Because if you aren't in a winning position, it doesn't look great. That one's for the fans. There we go,
That one's for
Miniclip.
the fans. Well, I hope Twitch chat enjoyed that, and maybe that two-shot barrage has reached them from wherever they do happen to be watching. But that misplay from Vossen arguably cost them a Drake. And now, okay, Temporal, right. We can get excited now, because this has been a game, as I've mentioned before, a game of fine margins, a calm, a collected, a measured game. But we are finally at this point where neither side can afford to let another Drake go. The next Drake is Ocean Soul, and that's going to be so big. It's now the time where the teams have to step up and they have to play for every last inch.
You are completely correct. Trading away the soul here instead of just minor dragons and minor things for things of about equal value cannot happen here. Ocean Soul is an absolute. You have it or you do not. We have 3 minutes. Neither team will be in a rush to set up around it for now. So instead, they will look for incremental advantages. Summoner spells, particularly Terabyte's up and coming Flash, is of most value for Nox. If they manage to set up their vision in certain ways, both have supports that can use these tools to break that open. Teddy looks even stronger in the side lane, enabled now against this Malphite. Multiple items in the Essence Reaver, the engage.
The engage comes through. Over the wall goes Techie. The lockdown onto Gotta. Demise are forced to back away. That is a good hook that comes through, but the thundering smash in from a Crisis. Techie solo will eventually fall. Boss admits everyone with the fate sealed, and now he's just getting run down. Terabyte stepping forward. Does he have the damage to get through Miniclip? Yes, he does. Now he's looking towards Gotta, but Gotta's going to be able to stay alive. Bossin potentially going to try to go in. Divinus and Ruggers running for the hills, and overall, somehow, Demise come out on top. 3 kills for 1. Endorser able to kill Arcane Teddy in the bottom lane. And the teleport towards the top side. Demise going to look to smash the base open from Nox right here, right now.
In the midst of all that fighting, unfortunately, Demise find an edge. Teddy goes a little too far trying to trade it forwards. And now Nox's base will fall first. Breaking into this top inhibitor. Will they continue to go further? They don't have Baron buff, and there is a Karma there. This
10 seconds on the death timer for Guma Yuzi. They get the engage onto Divinus, and Divinus goes to pop. Demise are going to end this one right here. It's Ruggers, the only man left standing. Crisis will fall, and now Miniclip is here. True Shot Barrage almost snags Terabyte, but he's just going to run through Ruggers, who goes golden, and that means that Miniclip can pick up the free kill. Now looking towards Endorser, but we know how tanky this Malphite is. Arcane shift forward, another Mystic Shot. Gotta looking to follow up. Arcane Teddy teleporting to the bottom side, and Nox want to end things on their own terms. They're looking to end it themselves, looking to crack the base open. Techie trying to buy time, but Arcane Teddy just going to run through him. And Techie is forced to flash out to safety. Endorser cannot recall. He cannot join Techie. 20 seconds on the death timers, and the back is going to be cancelled once again from Gotta as the ult comes through, and from nowhere, Nox turn the turn themselves. They're on to the final Nexus Tower, and somehow Nox are going to take the win over Demise.
That is what peak UKEL looks like. So close in the final moments, a slight, and I mean slight, overextension from Demise. Endorser trying to be the minions they didn't have costs them the game in its key moments.
You know, about 2 minutes before that fight started, I was going to say, Temporal, did you see the NLC game between BTXL and Fnatic Rising? Because I feel like that's about to happen.
I know
And
exactly what you're talking about.
we had the UKEL version of that game.
I think ours was better. I think ours was more justified. I'm going to be honest.
But Demise, I'm struggling to get my head around that. Demise got the pick. They pushed in. Terabyte just got caught. 2 teleports down bot. And it all ended for them. What a game. What a game.
It really was such a fantastic back and forth. I think both teams should feel really good about that. That was playoffs performance level. I would not be surprised to see both of these teams in the final. It really looks oh so good. And if it goes up from here, we should be really excited about the level these teams are playing at.
Is that your favorite game then of UKEL so far?
So far. That was fantastic to watch.
There you go. Well, we know Temporal has a very high standard if you want to satisfy his palate. So Demise and Nox, a fantastic game. The players listening in, or when you do listen in, thank you for putting on an absolute show of a game. And wow, quite honestly. But you know what? Let's end things off on a positive note. Who do you want to give MVP to? It can be to players on either side because it was that close of a game, in fairness.
Wow.
Putting you on the spot.
Oof. there's so many strong performances. That's why it's so enjoyable.
Surely Miniclip, right? You had such high praises for him
I
that game.
did. Miniclip really performed fantastic this game. We're gonna have a short list of 3 because my
Okay.
brain cannot handle giving all that praise to one person.
That is fair.
Miniclip was the stabilizing force, despite
Mm.
dying once in the bottom lane. He had that presence he needed to have throughout the game. He was that stabilizer. He was present damage. So not tons and tons, not like Philos, where you spike and someone dies. He was there and he was able to do exactly what he needed to do. Production is leading me in chat. I think Ruggers had a show up performance. I think that is because it is more difficult to play Karma into Yone than it is to play Fiora into Malphite. Production tells us MVP is Arcane Teddy's wife. You know what, Mrs. Teddy? He's shown up today. He did really well. And thank you for being there with him. It is really special. And also for Demise, Terabyte played really well, took some leads, but unfortunately it was not to work out. It was not here today.
Either way, a fantastic game from Demise against Nox to round out the day. Nox take the win, and Nox move to the top of the UKEL standings. UKEL will be back on Saturday for day 2 of week 5. But for those of you who want a little bit of extra content, myself and Middlecourt will be hosting the London Esports, or the UKEL after show on the London Esports Twitch channel. So you can head over there. We'll be doing that in about 10 minutes time. But for myself and Temporal, stay tilt proof on the Rift, and good night.